We already screwed it up.
What is happening?
Nothing.
Okay.
I got to be in character the whole time. Bray Wyatt never says anything. I can do this all day. Okay. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to what I've been talking about for weeks and weeks upon end, which is what it feels like, the amount of effort that I put into this video in the last 2 days, weeks and weeks worth of effort. And trust me, people out there, it's not worth it. So I am super excited about this, as I've mentioned in the past. Chris Schoenberg is going to be listening to his very first Rob Zombie album. And
at least all the way through, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, he's a big enough sort of pop culture icon person that pops up. Have you seen any of his movies?
Probably.
Parts of them.
House
maybe
of a Thousand Corpses is one of them. Mm-hmm. I think I saw that a long time ago.
He made a cartoon as well called El Fan Beast.
Really?
Something on the Beastorama. And then he also did Three from Hell. He actually made Halloween remake and Halloween 2 remake. 2010, I think 2012 remake. Anyway, we are here to have a great fun time. This is our Halloween special, everybody.
Hi.
This is what it is. So
happy Halloween, I guess I should have said.
Absolutely. Happy Halloween, everybody. Thank you so much for being here with us on the channel. We have Chris Parker with us here as well.
Cool, Chris.
Cool,
That's
Chris.
me. Cool remote
Yes.
Chris the third.
So everybody, let's go around and talk about our costumes, because I feel like some of them might need a little bit of explanation. So Chris Parker, do you want to start?
I'm Vash the Stampede from Trigun, and most specifically, the reboot of Trigun that happened this year.
Okay. Was it a live action?
No, but it's more of a, it's got a lot of like CGI based animation. It's not like, not like a Pixar situation, but just like computer generated 2D animation sort of a thing. It's really so good. It's fantastic. And I picked it because it was pretty easy for me to look like fish.
That's great. See, I went with Bray Wyatt, for those of you who are unaware of what has been happening in the video so far. Bray Wyatt, a WWE wrestler who recently passed away, is one of my all-time favorite wrestlers and one of the most genius and brilliant minds that the business has ever seen. And he kind of started out, because I know you guys aren't really big into wrestling, he kind of started out as sort of like, they were kind of doing this sort of like horror redneck trope, kind of. And it was Bray Wyatt, and then he had these two kind of bigger goons with him, which
Hired goons?
They weren't hired goons. They followed his faith because they believed in him. But he, if I was thinking correctly, audience, and I was thinking ahead, I should have convinced Chris Schoenberg to be Luke Harper, or he could have been Eric Rowan if he wanted to, but it probably would have been easier for it to be Luke Harper. But I should have had him be Luke Harper, and we could have sat here in our bibs and overalls and stuff and been all countrified for you guys for the day. But yeah, and then later on in his career, Bray Wyatt kind of reinvented himself, and he did this sort of like sort of like based on Blue's Clues, like children's TV show host type thing. And then he had this thing where he had his hurt and heal sides to him, and his hurt side was what was referred to as the Fiend, and he would wear this crazy mask that was made for him by one of those famous Halloween horror movie prop maker guys. He made a mask specifically for him, and he would go to the ring with it, and all sorts of crazy spooky stuff would happen, and it was really awesome. And one of the things I've always wanted to do on my channel with people who don't know about it is I've always wanted to listen to Bray Wyatt's theme songs, because he's actually had the same song recorded 3 different times in different sort of genres. The first time it was this very sort of like bayou swamp music thing. The second time it was like a sort of like a new metal type heavy thing. And then the third time it was this sort of more like chaotic, heavier type of thing with a really super long, cool piano intro. So anyway, I brought the idea up to Chris Parker many years ago of reacting to wrestler songs. And the reason I've always brought that up is because of Bray Wyatt's song. So that's me. I'm Bray Wyatt. I was going to do this whole video in character as Bray Wyatt, and maybe he'll pop out every now and then. But for the most part, you're just going to be getting me because we don't have a super 3 hours to record this. So we don't have a lot of time to mess around. So, Chris, we've saved the best for last.
Oh my God. Why did we do me last? I did Rob from Metallica since we do Metallica on the channel.
That's why I saved you for last. You're the person people will know.
Oh, yeah.
Metallica fans don't like anime and wrestling. They're into really cool stuff like
I
that.
had to have both of your costumes explained to me. Yes, I have on a black wig and a backwards hat and a bass, which will probably be moving shortly.
I told Chris, I said, I don't care what your costume is, but you absolutely cannot wear a black shirt.
That was the hardest part of putting this costume together, was finding a shirt that wasn't black.
Yep.
Why couldn't he wear a black shirt?
Because he's worn a black shirt in every other video on my channel.
Not every single one. The carcass
That's
shirt was
amazing.
green. It looks black on camera, but
true.
it was green.
I was going to say, because Patrick, with your wig and shirt combination, you are just a disembodied head.
Right, just a black. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I could button it up and look a little bit more like I'm going golfing.
There we go. We're
think
getting
people
into
wear
some real
tropical
Jack White
shirts,
territory now.
Jack White. I'm trying to think of any Jack White song to sing like funny and make fun of it. I can't think of it. Dead leaves in the dirty ground when you know I'm not around. That's actually a good one. Right?
I like the hardest button to button.
I think I like that one as well.
The whole record is good.
Dead Leaves on the Dirty Ground is a bop. That's their second
We're
album.
saying it's a bop now on the channel. That's a first.
You know what else we could do? We could turn this guy on.
I feel so much farther away from Chris Parker now that the screen is like, if you guys can't tell, you can actually see our legs today, which is usually not the case.
Yep.
And so Chris
can't
Parker
really get-
is like at least
I
twice
can
as
get
far
like
away
a
from
lot
me.
farther back, but
You are very far away from us, so.
Yes,
Good.
he looks much smaller.
You know what I was actually going to do for this
This thing
video?
is way too loud to keep it going. But
That's why I wasn't going to. You want to see the other setting?
yes, that's pretty sweet.
what is it doing?
That is absolutely Godzilla's roar. But that is the creature from the Black Lagoon. So there's some cross pollination happening. Okay, so everybody who might be watching the premiere with us right now, thank you so much for doing that for this video. But also, if you're one of the people who's been around with us for the last few months, you've probably been catching some of the premieres here and there when we've been doing our big Metallica albums. And just last night, as of us recording this, we did the Lulu reaction, and it was an awesome premiere. Thank you, everybody who showed up to the premiere. We had about 150 people steady the whole time, which was much better than the last two. But the first time, when we reacted to...
Death Magnetic.
I don't think it was
it
Death
Death
Magnetic. Was it Reload?
No.
Is it Saint Anger?
Oh, it was Saint
Oh,
Anger.
it was Saint Anger.
When we did
That's
Saint
why.
Anger, we were hovering about 400 people.
Yeah.
I bet you hit a new record with Hardwired. When we did
A
that
lot of
one.
people are like, and I was just going to say real quick, I don't want to make it sound like I'm complaining because honestly, I had way more fun with the 150 people last night than I did with the 400 people.
Well, the
for
same
Saint
10
Anger.
people talk the whole time. So if you're in those premieres, like, hit us up in the chat. Like, we're at least a couple of us are there. I was super late to Lulu, but I was
But
doing
pretty
other
much
stuff.
everybody was there last night that I expected. KDO was there.
KDR.
KDR was there. Team Wolfie Soupy.
Jay Hamilton.
One of the people who wasn't there, though, was Creeps. All capital letters. And Creeps, you better be here for this one because you got lots of WWE references and there's going to be more to come. So he's the only guy that I chat with WWE stuff about, really. So that's going to be coming. You know what else is going to be coming? Chris Parker, you and my cousin Cody and I are going to get together and we're going to make a Discord. So,
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yay, we're going to do that because people have been asking me for that forever.
Easy peasy.
Yeah, so I know I'm not too worried about it. I also, we have another cool thing I wanted to just point out here. I wanted to introduce everybody to the fourth member of our team. This is our drummer, whose name is Ulrich von Larsenstein. The famous...
No, you got to name him. What is it? What did that guy call him in the chat yesterday?
Lowers.
Lowers. Yeah. Lowers. Ulried.
Ulried. Lauer's Ulrich.
Lauer's Ulrich.
Well, I thought Ulrich von Larsenstein was pretty funny because I'm a huge fan of the movie Knight's Tale with Heath Ledger. And the character's name in that is Ulrich von Liechtenstein. But I thought Ulrich
All right.
von
That was a good movie.
Larsenstein would be a nice reference for anybody who's familiar with that. And boy, does this chair like to make wood sounds.
It's a creaky chair.
And actually, it may break at some point while we're doing this video.
That would be hilarious.
It actually may, because we had to actually glue it together with some wood glue to keep it...
I would give anything for that chair to collapse under you during
we'll
this
see.
video.
I'm going to give it all I got. I'm going to absolutely just keep rocking the whole time. So if
This chair's rocking.
this
don't come
chair's
knocking.
rocking, don't come knocking or something like that. Hey, I forgot I was going to put the Crow action figure out here somewhere. I don't
Is
have
it a
any
crow?
tables. It's the Crow. Brandon Lee.
A crow.
The Crow.
Yeah.
I don't have any tables out here, though. I was going to have all sorts of stuff set out. Oh, and I just want to say as well, come over here, microphone. I want to do a dramatic reading. Okay, to any of you people out there who are like, it's not a Halloween party if you don't have, like, the foggy smoke stuff coming all over the place. Well,
There's just no way anyone has ever said that.
yes, people do. In my brain, they say it all the time because I was like, this is not a
my
Halloween
brain.
party if I don't have...
It's called
like-
anxiety, Patrick.
Oh, my God, you have no idea how much anxiety I've had
We
last
have
week.
an inkling.
That's a pretty good idea.
Okay, so I have way too many very, very important, very old things here that are some of which are well over 100 years old, just within 5 feet of reach out of the frame. So I'm not going to sit here and get it all gummed up with that dry
With
ice.
the vapors.
With dry ice or vapors and whatnot, yeah. So, okay, so would you guys like to talk about Rob Zombie?
Yes.
I would like to talk about Rob Zombie. So,
Would you like to talk about our Lord and Savior, Rob Zombie?
he's actually the opposite of our Lord and Savior. He's like way closer to Satan than Jesus, for sure. Although there's a lot of Jesus imagery in a lot of his artwork, which is interesting, though. I think that it's there to be sort of...
He's upsetting Jesus.
I think that's kind of the point. But anyway, I wanted to start out by just asking Chris what you know about Rob Zombie and, like, if you have any, like, preconceived notions of his music or anything like that.
I mean, I've heard the songs that everybody's heard.
Do you know what those are?
Dragula.
Dragula.
Top
Dragula.
Dig through the
rips.
ditches and burn.
That
through
was
the
in
witches.
that was in the Matrix. I think that was
that's
the
the
first
remix
time I
version.
probably heard that song.
That's the remix
It's a
version.
remix.
The
of
Hot
Dragula
Rod
in the
Herman
Matrix?
remix. And that was one of the things I was going to bring up. I actually think, and you guys in the comments can, like, fact check me on this. I think that the Hot Rod Herman remix of Dragula is actually the version that most people think of when they think of the song Dragula.
That's an interesting thing to say.
If you think of the music video, you're thinking of the actual Rob Zombie song from his album Hellbilly Deluxe Volume 1. But if you're thinking of the song being played on the radio, if you're thinking of it being connected with any video game, if you're thinking of it being in Twisted Metal, that one was in Twisted Metal 4. If you're thinking of it being in Sled Storm, which is that awesome snowmobile racing game on the PS1 that had some Rob Zombie songs in it. If you're thinking of it in The Matrix, if you're thinking of it in any of the movies that song was in, it was the Hot Rod Herman remix version.
Really?
Yes.
I need to listen to that remix then, because I've listened to Dragula, the normal version, a couple of times recently, and I want to say something about it felt different, but I was like, I
bet that
was
was
like,
it.
I'm probably making it up.
I think you'd be very familiar with it when you heard it. And actually, if we decide to do more Rob Zombie stuff on the channel, one of the things that I kind of wanted to do was he has, and I have in this stack here of CDs, everybody, I have his entire discography except for one album. And I don't have the White Zombie, like, greatest hits collection, Let Sleeping Corpses Lie, which is something I've been looking for the last year and a half, but you can't find it online for less than $100 now, because it's like a 6-disc set and comes with all of the White Zombie stuff.
This is all Rob
master.
Zombie.
The first 3 discs are White Zombie, then the rest of it is Rob Zombie.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. So I just think that, I don't know, where was I even going with that? We were just talking about. Okay, well, whatever.
known.
That's what I was going to say. If we do decide to do more Rob Zombie in the future, I do think it would be fun to go back and have Chris listen to maybe his first 2 albums. I personally think that his best album is his second solo album, which is called The Sinister Urge. And that is the album with Don't Stop or Can't Stop the Red Red Groovy, which is one of his biggest songs. And also Feel So Good, which is one of my favorite songs of his. And then also Scum of the Earth was on that one. And the song House of a Thousand Corpses originally appeared on there and then appeared again in a slightly altered form on the House of a Thousand Corpses.
But
that's on
if
the
you
second
like
album?
us doing Rob Zombie and you want us to do more, you should like and share and comment and do the thumbs up and the bell and like hit us up in the chat if you're watching the premiere right now. Do all this stuff because it helps other people see it and not just see the Metallica videos, which is what most people see. We don't want to just do Metallica. It's just that.
Yeah. And trust me, we have a lot of Metallica still coming, and we have enough to satiate your Metallica
There's
needs.
enough Metallica for the rest of our lives.
Yeah. But yes, absolutely, that is true. I really hope this video gets some good views. Whether we can clickbait people into thinking it's going to be awesome because of the Halloween elements and stuff. Like, I don't even think I'm going to put Rob Zombie in the title of this or anything. I'm just going to have audio engineering Halloween special or something like that. Or do you think it'd be better to draw people in with
I don't
Rob
know.
Zombie?
Now you're going to have to make a cut, though, because now we're talking about stuff that probably shouldn't be on the video.
Well, you think I go through these videos and don't edit them?
I know you do.
Yeah, well, son of a...
I don't know about that. I would say you probably don't.
Just because you make silly mistakes doesn't mean I can't leave them in. Come on. Okay.
I know.
Anyway, I do want people to like and subscribe to the channel and to tell me that you like this kind of video stuff. We're not going to go this crazy every time we listen to Rob Zombie, but I promise you I'll bring out some cool stuff every time. But we could listen to any of the albums in his catalog, and people were excited. They thought maybe we were going to be listening to the most famous White Zombie album, Astro Creep 2000, which is the one that has this song on it that you would definitely know more.
Is that one?
That's this one.
Oh, what's that one? That's the album cover I know.
This is Thunder Kiss 65.
Oh yeah, because he
is
liked
dun,
that.
dun, dun, dun,
He
dun,
liked
dun,
that
dun, dun,
song
dun,
Blue,
dun, 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 dun,
and so then he makes the song Eiffel 65. Yeah,
Yes.
Is this a
except
joke?
that's
that was a joke. That was funny.
That was good. Yeah.
no, that was. But
just
should
wasn't
I
sure if
be
it was
should I
true.
be like our commenters and be like, you can't compare Eiffel 65 to Rob Zombie because White Zombie song came out 7 years before the Eiffel 65 song. So you
Man,
can't
people are
compare
just-
those things.
I'm sure they love to be represented by that voice.
Someone did that to me just yesterday. I said something about something in one of the videos, and they were like, "You actually can't compare those things because Metallica came out way before that." Oh my God.
It was about.
I
the
really
Godsmack
can't stand how-
jokes. You guys can
can't
go
stand
watch
how
the Lupo
common that
video
is.
and do the chat replay to see that happen in real life.
Yeah, there was unfortunately not enough, but we're gonna get some Godsmack jokes in this because there will be some wah pedal. I promise you that. Okay, so real quick, I want to go through Rob Zombie's discography and just sort of like explain to Chris how his career went because it is a super interesting thing. So first of all, White Zombie started back in like the late, I think, 87 was their first album. And I don't have a copy of that. They never released it on CD or anything. You can find copies floating around on vinyl online. But
White Zombie was first. You're saying? I think I might know some of this stuff, but I'm gonna play dumb.
I'm sure you would. White
So,
Zombie.
I can name maybe 3 or so White Zombie songs.
Oh, really? See, I think
Well, there was the one that you were just
They
talking
formed
about
in 1985.
right, and I think their first album came out in 87, and that was like a really low budget thing, and it sounds very different from anything else. And then it wasn't until they released this album, which is Los Exorcisto, Los Exorcisto Devil Music Volume 1,
What was the
That-
name of that song that you were mentioning a little bit
Thunder
ago?
Kiss 65.
Oh, that's the name of the song.
That's the dun,
because I know
dun,
that one
dun,
in Living
dun,
Dead
dun.
Girl.
Ready to file some fever to file some don't preach on me. File some preach on me. They got a file some preach on me. And one of the cool things about White Zombie, they had a really badass chick who played bass in them, and the bass in in White Zombie's music is always killer. Okay, so this is when they kind of
awesome.
broke out pretty big. Thunder Kiss 65 was a huge song for them, and they did a few songs for soundtracks for like the Howard Stern soundtrack. Food for the Gods, I think they did. They did a song with Iggy Pop. And mostly that was Rob Zombie stuff, but they were doing it all under the moniker White Zombie. They famously closed the 1990. Okay, so the most famous White Zombie song, the one that everybody knows, is More Human Than Human, right? More human than human.
I think that
more
one would
human
probably be
than
less
human.
popular than Thunder Kiss 65, but
Absolutely not a chance in hell. However, I will say Thunder Kiss 65 has gotten little legs and traction over the last few years, and it has been featured in probably more movies than More Human Than Human.
Chris moved his mic. That was a creepy sound.
Don't mind me.
You should go sample that. That was a good one.
That was a creepy sound.
Oh, do it again. And the spring, it's spring reverb. It's literally spring reverb. If you guys
it
wondered
is.
how spring reverb exists, it's because a spring.
This has springs attached
Springs.
to
That
the
is
bars.
God, that's a good little sound effect. You can sample that and send it to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
okay,
good.
so
I can if you want.
Okay, well, whatever.
Benefits
you guys,
of a crappy mic stand.
Hey, we don't have forever to go through this. So, Astro Creep 2000 is, I think, definitely the best White Zombie album. This is probably the thing Chris would hate the most. This is when Rob Zombie kind of started to get that, like, I'm going to play songs that are actually very simple, and it's more about the atmosphere the song creates and way less about the complexity of anything that's happening. Right? A lot of copy and pasting, a lot of looping, a lot of samples. They got into a lot of trouble with this album because of all the samples that they used without permission, which was a big, this album came out in 1990 maybe? 1992. So this is 1 year after the Black Album by Metallica, which I do think the Black Album sounds better than this album, but maybe not the remaster. But anyway, they got into a lot of trouble with that album. They did still use a lot of samples on Astro Creep 2000. However, they toned it way back, and they picked specific samples that sort of like became the focal points of the songs. So almost every song on this album is based around a specific sample of some like horror movie or something, and like a seance or something. And the whole song is based around that. So there's lots of loops, there's lots of repetitious parts. The guitar parts are like, I could play every guitar part on this album probably. So that tells you how like simple it was. But I absolutely love it. I think if you're talking the entire catalog of everything Rob Zombie's ever made, this is in my top 3 albums, for sure. Huh. Then they had Rob Zombie's very first ever remix album. This is Super Sexy Swingin' Sounds. This is this is White Zombie's remix album of all the songs from Astro Creep 2000 remixed. Really awesome. There's some dance songs. There's still some heavy songs. I think some of the songs on Super Sexy Swingin' Sounds are actually better than the songs on Astro Creep 2000, and that's one of the things we're kind of going to see as.
Are we going through the whole pile?
Very quickly. So then we have Rob Zombie Hellbilly Deluxe, right? Everybody knows that. That
was the first
finest
solo
album.
That's the first solo album.
These are in chronological order.
Yes, 1999. That is Dragula, Super Beast. Hey, yeah, I'm the one that you
Super
wanted.
Beast rules.
Hey, yeah.
There's at least another one on there that rules.
There's also Living Dead Girl.
Oh, Living Dead Girl's on there? I thought that was a White Zombie song.
Nope, Living Dead Girl. And we have lots of other good stuff on there. Although this is the album that I think everybody wanted us to react to. However, the reason I chose not to do that is because Chris Parker knows it really well, and I wanted to do an album that he doesn't know as well. And also, if we listen to this, I'm pretty sure everybody would be slightly disappointed. This is one of those things where Rob Zombie got a little bit too much, because there's 13 tracks on here, and of the 13 tracks, I think there's only actually 7 real songs. Every other track is this weird, like, it's kind of like a song, but the vocals are like so lo-fi or so low in volume that it's like, this isn't really a real song, or it's just like what is lurking on.
I can see the comments now.
It's a real song. What are you talking about?
I was just thinking.
ABA structure doesn't mean it's not a real song.
So far, it's like, oh, well, maybe you aren't going to be a fan of anything Tool that we listen to.
I'm glad that we make fun of the haters on the channel, though, because we just like let you know right in the beginning of the video who these things are for and who they're not.
Oh yeah,
and there's like
sure.
6 people out there that really like us.
And I think that there's a lot of like legitimately like really great comments that are like good criticism. For
so
sure.
if you count the 3 of us, I like us, and
Yeah.
like the 6 people on the internet that like us, that's like, a large
That's
dinner
6
party.
more than we had before we started doing this. So.
It is, because none of my other friends will do this with me.
So then we have American Made Music to Strip To, which is Rob Zombie's second remix album. If you include, it's Rob Zombie's solo career's first remix album, and it's all songs just off of Hellbilly Deluxe.
Interesting.
Then we have-
how are those? How is that album?
Phenomenal.
The remix one.
Phenomenal. Every one of the remix albums is just as good as a regular Rob Zombie album, but it's like just different genres of music. It's absolutely fantastic. Then we have The Sinister Urge, which I think personally is the best thing that he's ever released. In terms of consistency, I think that he has songs that are better than the best songs on here. However, I think in terms of consistency, this is the album. I mentioned this has Scum of the Earth. This has Demon Speeding on it, which was a big song. This also has Iron Head on it, which was him and Ozzy Osbourne doing a song together, which was really cool because with White Zombie, they had their two famous songs, Electric Head Part 1 and Electric Head Part 2. And of course, Ozzy known for Iron Man, so they put those things together and made Iron Head the song, which is like an homage to both bands, which is really cool. And it's probably my favorite song I've ever heard Ozzy performing on, because he kind of just does secondary vocals and that's it. I'm not a huge fan of Ozzy's vocals, but we should listen to some Black Sabbath and maybe I'd change my mind there. I've only heard one Black Sabbath album and it was on a very dirty, crappy vinyl. Then this is where the Rob Zombie's discography gets super interesting, and this is why I wanted to talk about this. Up to this point, everything is pretty much what you would expect from Rob Zombie, but from here on out, things start to deviate. So then we get to his album, Educated Horses. And Educated Horses is his album that, to me, is way more Black Sabbath. There's doom metal on this, or doom-y feelings on here. It is mixed more like a Red Fang album or something. I don't know what kind of band to mention. Well, you know what kind of production I'm talking about, right? Like the very gritty bluesy guitars, but like still doing the metal stuff. And
I don't know who
real
Red Fang is.
drums.
You don't know who Red Fang is? You would like Red Fang. Go watch the video for Wires after we're done with
You would like Red Fang.
You'll like
Okay.
that. Or Prehistoric Dog. Go watch the one for Prehistoric Dog.
The Sword. Like the Sword, maybe.
I know the Sword.
Or anything like that. Any of those sort of like modern bands that are trying to sound like Black Sabbath.
I think that people pronounce it the S word.
The Sword?
The S word.
The S word.
Are you being serious?
No.
No.
You got me. From now on, all of eternity, I would have been like, the S Word has a new album coming out?
Me and
The Sword?
me and my buddies used to listen to the Sword a lot, and we would say the Sword all the time. But the
Sword.
Anyway, you I think you get the gist. Like, this is much more of a bluesy sound overall in terms of the production. Gone are the dance beats. Gone are a lot of the electronic elements. This is the band where Marilyn Manson's old guitar player John Five replaced Riggs, which was Rob Zombie's very famous guitar player.
I want to listen to that one. I love John Five.
Dude, yes, and
John
this is
Five's
some
so
of
good.
John Five will continue to be his. We will hear him on the album we're listening to today.
Yay!
Yeah, absolutely. So John Five joined the band for this album, and it is. I love this album, but it came out when we were in college, and I remember hating it 2006. I remember hating this at the time because I was like, this isn't the dancey Rob Zombie that I want. This isn't high frequency, this isn't like new metal. This is something different.
I like that Patrick uses
the voice
same
on myself.
voice
For his
the
own- for
haters
himself,
as
yeah.
he does for
Yeah.
Everything is
Patrick.
fine now.
Anyway, I love this album, and I would love to do a reaction to this album with you guys on the channel at some point. So after they made that album is when he made his first movie. That is when House of a Thousand Corpses came out. I think he might have been working on it simultaneously with this album. So from here on out, his albums are going to be quite a bit farther apart.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a little bit different than, what we got. So then we have, it's been quite a while now since that album came out. This is, 2009. So I guess that's only 3 years, but it felt like an eternity. Then we have Hellbilly Deluxe Volume 2. This album is we're going to write songs that basically sound like we would have played them on tour. This is their tour album, right? Every song sounds very live. There's very little on this album that couldn't be exactly replicated live on a stage, including a 10-minute drum solo that ends the album. Just a straight up 10-minute drum solo.
That ends the album.
Yep, ends the
Pretty
album.
cool.
It is
That's a long time. For a drum solo.
It's super epic. I absolutely love it. It's great. This is probably my least favorite Rob Zombie album, actually. However, the songs are really long and they're not very catchy at all. It's just more for like screaming and shouting so the crowd can like sing with them. This Sick Bubblegum is on this album. What and then Mars Needs Women are the big songs from here.
Never
But
heard of them.
there's a lot of really good ones on here. Jesus Frankenstein is on here. There's a lot of really good stuff. However, this would be one. I think that you might like this album because there's a lot more like.
Was this the other option?
No, not yet.
Okay.
But this is This is the like live Rob Zombie album, till he did a live album. But like that album, the production of that album is supposed to sound like a live album, basically.
So there's crowd noise.
There is crowd noise in some. There's crowd noise in some of the stuff.
Wow, I
Intentional.
thought I was making a joke.
You're gonna hear crowd noise in one of the songs we're hearing on this.
Oh,
album
but like
today,
super
too.
fake crowd noise, like
Absolutely.
in like jock rock style.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I think I might have
yeah.
known that might have been coming.
Oh yeah. Okay, so then we have a remix album.
Dude, we should react to the jock rock albums.
Stuff
The
like
hell's
that.
a
Be good.
jock rock album?
Weren't that what? Isn't that what I'm? Isn't that what they was called?
Jock jams.
Jock jams.
Jock jams.
That's what I meant. Or do
Jock
the
jams.
whole now. That's what I call music. We could do that for the rest of our lives.
Oh, absolutely.
Just react to now albums.
So in between the albums we just talked about, there was the House of a Thousand Corpses soundtrack, which I don't want to leave out. I actually do not have a copy of that, but I want a copy so
Patrick.
bad because one of my all-time favorite Rob
I
Zombie
thought this
songs.
was like a real channel, and you don't even have.
Yeah, what are you
every
even doing
single-
here?
What
I
are
know,
you
I'm
even
such a
talking
poser.
about Rob Zombie
Such a poser.
definitively when you don't
But
have?
one of
that?
my all-time favorite Rob Zombie songs, though, is from that album, and Chris, it's called.
Wow.
But it's spelled liquor like Liquer.
Yeah, Quor.
Yeah, whatever. I don't drink the stuff, so I don't know. But it's
That's the criteria for knowing how to spell it.
that is like legitimately one of my all-time. We are going to listen to that song on this channel sometime, and you will love it. It's great, great piano part, great brass part.
Is that why I
Phenomenal.
can't spell diarrhea?
So anyway, then his next album, Mondo Sex Head, is another remix album from basically everything in his career that had come out to this point.
So what? They just make just like dance remixes of songs that have come out before?
No,
Or just,
some of them are like creepy trip hop things. Some of them have no words in them. A lot of Rob Zombie's music, Chris, like the lyrics are so the vocals are so distorted and so like
what's his wife's name?
Sherry Moon Zombie.
That's right. She's freaking.
She is
hot.
the naked person you've seen in
I
every
know,
single one.
I know.
Of,
I know what she looks like because she's crazy hot. Anyway,
She's really creepy in all of his videos and in all of his movies as well. He casts her in everything that he's ever basically done.
why wouldn't you?
Yeah, she's great. So that's the one where we had got to get a few like dubstep songs on there. There's like some orchestral songs. That's actually a really, 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 really great remix album, and there's like a bunch of bonus stuff on there. That was the first time that like Thunder Kiss 65 and some of the early White Zombie stuff got remixed is on there. Yeah, it's hard to read. I know. So then we come up to the album we're going to be listening to today, Venomous Rat Regeneration Vendor. Chris, I'll give you this, and you can go ahead and look through the artwork.
Oh,
if
I
you
will
want.
because we also have this cool like 3D deal.
Yep, I have a lenticular. I bought the special deluxe Best Buy edition that comes with the lenticular.
Ooh, look at it go. I've never looked
could
at
you
one of
actually
those
see
on
it go?
camera. Yeah. When you went side to side, like. And it's got a little 3D pop on his nose there, at least. There it goes.
Do.
Neat.
Super cool.
So for people who've been watching the channel, you might know that in some of our previous videos, I've been talking about which Rob Zombie album we were going to do to celebrate Halloween. And originally my thought was that we were going to do Sinister Urge because that's, in my opinion, probably Rob Zombie's best album. My second favorite album of his, though, is this album, Venomous Rat Regeneration Vendor. And Chris, while you're looking at that, I should say, and you might know this already, Rob Zombie does all the artwork for all of his albums.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
He is just as much into art as he is into filmmaking and as he is into music. The artwork that, like, the story that takes place across all of his album artwork, like, look at that. That's incredible.
Yeah, that is really cool.
I do not think he did that painting, but you can actually buy a vinyl that has that on it. We can't show it because unfortunately there's boobies on it, but and they're pretty vividly, accurately, as far as I know, representations of boobies on there. So, but anyway, the two albums that we have been debating about listening and that I have been fighting with myself.
Oh my God, we talked about it for so long. You guys don't even know.
We did, and you guys don't even know. Earlier this week, I was like, we're changing it. I'm changing it. We're listening to the other album because I'm so scared.
Why?
I'm so scared that Chris Schoenberg's not going to like this one as much as he would like the Lunar Injection Kool-Aid Eclipse Conspiracy. The Lunar
Jesus.
Injection Kool-Aid Eclipse Conspiracy. Just because there's more guitar stuff on here that I think he would appreciate. But
Is he getting paid by the word for those album titles? It's
yeah, I know.
annoying.
The Acid Warlock Satanic Witch Orgy or whatever is the album that I don't have, and that's the album that is in between these two.
It's like he just looks at a bunch of
give me that
SEO
one, Chris.
tags for what he is as
me
an
that,
artist,
that.
and then puts them together in an
al-
album name.
The booklet is very fancy. It's printed on very nice paper.
This is the only album of his that is like that.
But that's be a great way to do album titles, though. Why? And that's like why Patrick's gonna write Rob Zombie in the.
You're
video
right,
description,
absolutely, and
because-
I'll put a picture of him up there, or whatever too. But so I've been debating about these two albums, which are his two most recent albums, if you minus the Electric Warlock one, because I technically haven't heard that one yet, and whatever, we're not doing that one. So I came down on Venomous Rat Regeneration Vendor.
Which came out when?
This is Lunar Injection Kool-Aid.
But where did the other one come out?
This is 2013, I believe. 2013.
This one says 2021.
That's the most recent one. There's one between these called the Acid Warlock
Then what are all
Orgy
these?
Satanic whatever. This is just extra bonus stuff I'm going to bang through real quick. Should we do that right now? Sure. Okay. So I have 2 copies of his deluxe of his greatest hits albums. The cool thing about his greatest hits is that of the 19 songs on here, I would say probably, if I were to count them, I'm not going to, but I'll estimate that maybe of the 19, 12 or so are like exclusive to soundtracks and then songs he made just for this. So it is a badass greatest hits, because it's really not a greatest hits. It's more like a compilation of rarities.
People used to do that though. Like, right? Weren't there like sometimes on greatest hit songs, like they'd put a new song on something too? Like probably like
It's a pretty presumptuous
absolutely.
thing, honestly, to make a greatest hits album and then put in a song no one's ever heard. And
Well,
be like, this is going to be a great.
You
hit
know
'cause
what?
I say
I just lied. It's called Past, Present, and Future. It ain't even greatest hits. But disc 2.
Well, I mean, they're rarely called greatest hits. I
right.
think, these days.
I think the point with this was that it's a 2-disc set, and the second disc is a DVD that has every music video he'd done up to this point on it. And I think that was more sort of like the calling card for this set. But like I said, we could just listen to this, and there's so much great stuff, including his cover of Blitzkrieg Bop, because the Ramones are one of his biggest influences. But then also the 2 songs he made for this, 2-Lane Blacktop and Girl on Fire, are like 2 of his absolute best songs. But then this has all of the crazy stuff that he's done for soundtracks, including I'm Your Boogeyman, which is a pretty big one, and Brick House's version of Brick House, that actually features Lionel Richie from his 2003 soundtrack for House of 1,000 Corpses. Then I just have, because these are a little bit more rare and I wanted to show off my collection, I have the 2 Scum of the Earth CDs that Riggs went and made while Rob Zombie was making his first movie, House of 1,000 Corpses. His guitar player was like, I'm ready to make a new album, Mr. Zombie. And Mr. Zombie was like, well, I'm making a movie. And Riggs was like, well, can I go make an album without you? And he was like, sure. So he went and made this album, which is called Blah, 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 Love Songs for the New Millennium. This is a Rob Zombie album. This sounds identical to a Rob Zombie album, except it's a little bit more sleazy. There's a few more bad words. Not that Rob Zombie's ever been shied away from that, as you'll hear when we actually listen to the music here. But it's actually really so similar. It's like disgusting, and I love it. This is great. All the songs are sung by Riggs, who does some background vocals on some of the Rob Zombie stuff. And then
It's almost like he's probably a huge part of the writing process.
Yes, we'll talk about the writing process in just a second. Then I also have their second album, which is not very good. It's called Sleaze Freak or some dumb whatever. It doesn't matter. It's not very good. The production on it's pretty bad. Then the last thing I have to show everybody is Halloween Hootenanny. This is a compilation of really cool old-timey and modern Halloween songs that Rob Zombie put together and released on his record label. But this is really cool. It's got Reverend Horton Heat, Southern Culture on the Skids, some of the Low Straight Jackets, the Ghastly Ones, the Legendary Invisible Men, and it's all just sort of like stuff. If you like the Munsters theme song, dun da da dun da dun da da dun, that side of Halloween music, the sort of surf rock side. This is a whole great compilation.
Oh, the Monster Mash side.
No, not the Monster Mash side. Although I love the Monster Mash, don't talk trash.
No,
about
you
the
do
Monster
not.
Mash. I do love the Monster Mash. It was the greatest Halloween song of all time until last year when Muse defeated it with "You Make It Feel Like Halloween." Now You Make It Feel Like Halloween is the greatest Halloween song of all time. So anyway, yay! Wow, there's a whole bunch of music we can waste our time talking about. So just a couple things about Rob Zombie that I want to mention, Chris, so you know. I have read in interviews, and I think that this has changed kind of since then, but I remember reading in interviews after his first few albums. When Rob Zombie goes in to make an album, he goes in with nothing. No ideas, no nothing. And he sits down with his musicians and they kind of create the album in the studio. I think he does make note of interesting samples and things that they can use. But other than that, I think for the most part, even a lot of the samples that we do hear on the albums are just things that they find and then get permission to use nowadays, or things that they just create themselves. But I have always thought that was very interesting, that he just goes into the studio with nothing, and then him and his musicians sit around. He always has the producers and the recording engineers are always very important parts on Rob Zombie albums, and they very much help dictate the way the album sounds. And we talked in previous Metallica videos about how I think that some of the greatest sounding, crunchy guitars of all time are Rob Zombie's second album, The Sinister Urge, and Power Man 5000's Tonight the Stars Revolt album. Those albums were both done by the same guy, and that's the same guy that's worked on several of Rob Zombie's albums. However, when John 5 joined the band, they kind of changed up the production style, did different things, and they got some different guys to work with them. Yeah, I don't really think I have anything else to say. We can get into this and listen to it if you guys are ready.
Yes, please.
Do you have any preconceived notion? Oh, wait, we do have. How could I forget? We have one more thing we have to do. I am sitting here with cotton mouth because I'm so this video is going pretty good so far, but I don't know, it could be better. And so
Couldn't it be the half hour of straight talking you just did?
Yeah, it probably is that as well. Yes. So we are going to just hold on. Where can we put our drinks here? We'll put them right here. Everybody, look right here on the table. We'll be back with you in a second.
We're really glad that you are here to listen to the audio engineers.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Audio Engineering Funhouse. Are you guys enjoying the video so far? Hopefully the intro hasn't been too long, but you know how those guys are. Fall is such an absolutely amazing time of the year. We absolutely had to be here for this amazing Halloween special here on Patrick's channel. Don't you guys think fall is great?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
What do you guys think is a really cool thing about fall, or as it's also known as autumn? That's great. I like that part too. Should we ask some of the guys here what they think about the fall? Bass, what is your favorite thing about the fall?
I like how all the leaves change colors and then fall off the trees. And the temperature starts to get really low.
You're right, Bass. It does get much colder in the fall. Chris, what about you? What do you like about Halloween?
Well, I don't really have an affinity for Halloween. Generally, I really love the spooky season, and I'm a huge fan of horror movies. In fact, just the other night, we were watching Ganjam, that South Korean horror movie about the haunted asylum. And I really love found footage stuff. Of all of the different types of horror movies, those are the best ones that are...
Well, it looks like we lost Chris. Hopefully we can get him back soon. But in the meantime, Cassiette, how do you feel about the autumn?
To be honest, I don't really like it. I much prefer the hot summer and the springtime when the flowers bloom and the birds sing.
Well, I appreciate your honesty, Cassiette, but maybe next time you can just agree with what we're talking about to go along with the theme. Hey, Chris, what do you think about this spooky time of year?
I love how all the Satan-worshipping, devil-loving scum of the earth can go out into the night to spread their filth and gore Upon the world as blood and terror rain down from the sky, making all the assimilated masses shudder in fear and repulsion.
I guess that is a pretty cool part of the season. Good job, Chris. 10 points to Slytherin.
Yay.
I probably shouldn't even ask. But what about you, old-timer? What are your thoughts on the third season of the year?
I didn't get all scuffed up in World War II and almost not make it back home just so some silly kids can get dressed up in stupid costumes and get free handouts. It makes me sick to think how soft everyone is now. In my day, we didn't trick or treat. We had to duck and cover.
Sure. What about you, Cousin Cody?
I don't even know why I'm here.
Then why don't you just get out? Mrs. Rocca, I'll bet there are some interesting customs and traditions from your part of the world. Could you maybe tell us about some of them? I'm sorry, Mrs. Rocca, but you know that none of us speak Moroccan. Maybe your son could translate what you just said for us, please?
And out of the darkness, the zombie did call. Through pain and suffering, he brought to them all. Away ran the children to hide in their beds, for fear that the devil would chop off their heads.
Sounds intriguing to me.
Well, with that being said, now it's time for us to play everybody's favorite game, Is It Metal? To play Is It Metal, I'm going to hold up a piece of paper with a word or phrase written on it and then ask a specific player the question, Is it metal? And they'll have to give me the correct answer. It's so fun and so easy. Let's go. Bass, you're up first. Your word is banana. So, is it metal?
No.
Correct. Good job, Bass. Up next, we have Chris. Do we have Chris back with us? Yeah? All right. How about a puppy? Is it metal?
Yeah, I'm here. No, a puppy is not metal.
Correct! I'm glad to see your signal has stabilized. Cassiette, your turn. What about a vinyl record? Ooh, this one's a tough one. Let's see what she says. Is it metal?
No?
That's right. You know, some people do think a vinyl record is metal. However, a vinyl record has never been, nor will it ever be, metal.
This game is so stupid. The answer is no, it's not metal every single time.
Vintage Mike, the game is no fun when you refuse to play by the rules. So play by the rules or else. Now, Chris. Is it metal?
I mean, no, obviously not.
Oh, you know what? This might be a misprint. Ah, yes, this is the correct word. Is it metal?
Still, no. It's not metal.
Good job. That's actually correct. Corn is not metal. And now, oh no, Vintage Mike. Well, at least this is super easy. One by Metallica. Is it metal?
Yes, absolutely.
What did you say?
In fact, not only is One by Metallica metal, I think it's on the list of most metal things of all time.
That's it!
No, wait, no!
Stop doing that.
No, stop! No,
Yeah,
no!
maybe you should stop.
Hey!
I don't think you should be doing it.
Go ahead. I never liked him.
No, get away! Ah!
Well, that about does it for this episode of Audio Engineering Funhouse. We had such a wonderful time, and I hope that you did too. Now it's time to send you back to the guys for your very first taste of some Rob Zombie. That's gonna be fun. Bye! Enjoy the music, and we'll see you next time. Bye!
We're really glad that you are here to listen to the audio engineers.
All right, so we are back here, and today we have another first for me. If in the last video, in the Lulu video, I drank a Monster Energy for the very first time. So this time I went to the store and I was like, let's get some more energy drinks because I need that energy to make it through, you know, these albums that we're listening to. And so I picked out Aftershock, I think is what it's called. It just says
Ashok.
It says Ashok, but I think it's Aftershock. Ashok Energy, and I bought this because it's blue raspberry, which is like my favorite sort of like, hold on, I gotta pull my tattoos up. It's my favorite flavor, I guess you could say.
That's my sister's favorite flavor.
You can't overdo it. If you do it, it loses all of its gusto, its gusto.
Gusto, yeah.
But look how sweet these tattoos are, boy.
You should try getting some real ones.
I could never decide what is so important to me that I would put it on my body forever.
See, that's the thing. It doesn't have to be important.
It does to me. It would to me. I've thought about getting the Foxhound logo, Chris. That's what but then I think of all things to put on my body, a dog. That doesn't go on Patrick Musilek's body.
I don't know. I think that happens a lot with people's first one, but then after that, you just have like this weird little gnawing addiction to getting more, and eventually it's like, I'll just get this pizza.
I don't know if I would get to that point, but anyway. Okay, so let's open this. Give it a shot. Aftershock. Oh my God, I love it. Oh, it's great. It tastes just like a blue raspberry, like slushy from like an icy or something. Oh yeah.
Is it actually called Aftershock, or are you just calling it that because the regular name doesn't make sense?
I think it's actually
No,
Aftershock.
it says Ashok. Ashok,
Okay.
Ashok,
Well, but that's gotta be short for Aftershock.
Ashok. It doesn't say that anywhere though, because it says Ashok Energy Company or whatever it is.
All right, well, Ashok. Loving me this Ashok. 0 sugar, natural caffeine, natural electrolytes, which is what I need. I need those electrolytes. I've been drinking a lot of Gatorade lately because of this weird post-COVID thing. I have been sweating my ass off all the time, every day. It's been absolutely
Your
terrible.
ass shock.
Your Ashok.
My ass shock off.
beat me to it.
Okay,
I was swallowing
okay,
water.
hold on. I have to switch my headphones over, which means I'm gonna have to take the hat off, everybody. So I don't know how I'm gonna do this. The hat's like the signature Bray Wyatt piece. I obviously cannot hear you guys now.
You could put you could probably put the headphones on over the
Feel
hat.
free to
What
talk.
you think?
It's gonna crush the sides. I got the headphones on over my hat now. Do I usually wear a hat in the video?
No.
How do I do this?
I do
Sometimes,
sometimes.
maybe. Yeah.
I think I wear headphones. It was weird today. Well, with the fake hair.
Yeah.
I don't normally do that. I'm worried. We talked about headphones fitting. No one on the premiere was like chatting with us about the absolutely fascinating audio discussion we had at the end.
Yeah, the one thing that we've ever talked about that is like
Well, it was too
legitimately
long and people weren't.
audio engineer related, and
no,
nobody had a
that's
single
not true. We've talked about other stuff too, but like that was a fun discussion. Patrick didn't care, but Chris Parker and I had fun.
People did kind of point out how disinterested I was.
It was also like 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever.
Oh, I can hear frequencies now.
Frequencies.
Oh,
yeah, that thing that sounds made.
Let's put audio engineer in the.
Let's put some frequencies in
video
my
description.
ear.
Let's say frequencies. That's audio.
How do I look
right
without? This is just the wig, just wigged Patrick.
You look like somebody for sure, and I can't think of who.
Somebody down in the comments make up now what Patrick's new costume is that he's taking the hat off, and now that his hair is back. Oh my god, I can't look at you.
Doesn't he looks like looks like somebody?
Tell us who it is.
How can you guys can't see though because it's just black on black.
No, I think Chris Parker can see.
It's
more.
doing something.
It is something.
It's doing something.
I dyed my facial hair today, and I actually left it in 2 minutes longer than you're supposed to try to get it to be blacker. And so it'll be a little bit blacker for my cousin's wedding. So, because that's coming up. All right, are you guys ready?
Because did you do that for the costume, or did you do that for?
We're an hour in. We need to do this.
I did it for the costume.
Okay.
Track 1.
I agree.
I don't know how to say this, so I'm just going to say it and bleep it out. Teenage Nosferatu pussy.
Okay.
Perfect.
Ready, Chris?
You're not playing the right track.
I will.
Okay.
Ready, Chris?
Yep.
In 3, 2, 1.
This is just how the newest brand new album starts. Yeah.
So let us know what you remember, Chris, from this, or if you don't really remember any of it.
Nothing.
And let us know what you're thinking, Chris.
Guitar placement changed.
I like the little organ.
Yes, very cool. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they do organs, sometimes they do guitars. Just kind of depends.
They blend real well.
Did you like this, Chris?
Not really. It's okay. I'll drink it. I don't like the fake sugar.
You ready for a shredding guitar solo, Chris?
Only if you're going to talk over it.
Well, get ready to be disappointed, because there isn't one. Chris, when we were talking during load and reload about all those Rob Zombie sounds, this is Rob Zombie class on first day. This guitar sound, right? Just like no notes, just like bending stuff. Like more like a noise than a guitar.
How will we know which one's you now?
It's weird listening to a drummer that's not Lars, even though he's doing basically the same thing. Right?
Metallica's drums would never sound like this.
No.
For better or for worse. I don't know. I don't even know. That's not even like a negative statement. Like, I'm not complaining about it. They never would, and I don't know why.
Okay, so one of the reasons I chose for us to actually do this album then is because I feel like this album is a really good amalgamation of everything that Rob Zombie's done throughout his career put together on an album that actually sounds good. Because all of his albums sound good, but they sound good in very different ways. But I personally think that this is his best sounding album. I think this is the best, most continuously sounding good album. I do really like that Black Sabbath-y sounding one earlier. I think that album sounds equally good, but it's just a different style of production, right? Completely different than this. So to me, this is like a consistent, well-produced album that has moments that feel throwback to earlier in his career, but also things that were very of the time for him in his album that came before this and his album that came after this. So it's a really nice kind of melting pot of everything Rob Zombie and White Zombie did up to this point. So there's lots of things for people to feel nostalgic about, to enjoy on this album, but also there's lots of new kind of weird things as well. So how did you feel about that, Chris, that being your first time really like paying attention to a Rob Zombie song up close?
Well, I wasn't surprised by any of that. That's about what I expected it to be. There were some mixed things that I will get. I think it sounds good.
I'm curious what you think.
The guitars are very, very large, like the rhythm guitars. And I was just kind of thinking about this. That might be why I picked up on this today. I can't remember now what albums I was thinking about. Some of the whatever.
Here, do you want to look at this as we go through?
Yeah, I do. I kind of did already. The metal-y stuff that I like and thinking about guitar tones because I was working on mixing some stuff. And it's kind of weird because everything's still like, you can hear all of the parts. I like the organ that just kind of like pops in and it's over, I guess, on the left side a little bit because I know
very
that
distorted.
Patrick's cool thing switches our image around. The guitars are balanced, which is different than what we've been listening to for the last 8 months, listening to Metallica, where James's side is always at least more present.
When they perform, they do have just one guitar player, just John 5.
Well, that makes sense. Why would you need two to do this?
Oh, to do this, for sure. 100%.
Right, and he's using two amps, and he's got, or whatever, he's using however many amps, and they're doing their stuff, and it works fine. But it's weird because from a mix perspective, and I think that, I like it. I wouldn't do it like this, but the guitars are so huge. The guitars are like so tall, and there's like time-based processing stuff going on things that aren't the drums that make them all very big and then so the drums, even though they sound good and in a way like the individual sounds are big, like they seem like they're down inside of it. I don't know. Those aren't like audio words, but
I think I know what you mean though, and it is kind of.
I don't feel like I'm close enough to the drums. Like I keep boy, is this really up loud enough? Because I know it is, but it's because I'm not getting. I can hear the kick drum and the snare drum properly, but it's not like vibrating my skull in the way that I'm expecting.
There's not a lot of like the stereo width is actually pretty narrow. Like it's at like 60%, where it's like it's almost just all happening in front of you and nothing's coming out. Like you're not getting anything hard left, right, you know?
Okay, I'm gonna have to think about that. You know that from what we talked about last time when we were talking about soundgym.co. Please,
yes,
please at least sponsor us enough to give Patrick a membership, and he can post his SPI on his thing.
That would be fun. I think I'd do really bad. But in terms of what you're saying, though, I kind of do agree with you. I personally really do like the way this song sounds. And the one thing about Rob Zombie's albums is like the next song sonically could sound like it's coming from a completely different album.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So
I look forward to that.
I think that this album is a little bit more consistent, but like you almost have to think of Rob Zombie's albums as like every song is just like a from a soundtrack to a movie that he may have made somewhere. Like every song has to be thought of like its own thing. And one of the other things I was going to bring up is like in more recent times, I would say since Sinister Urge, Rob Zombie albums remind me a lot of the movie Jaws, right? Because Rob Zombie will have a song like we just listened to, right? Where it's crunchy, heavy guitars and he's going, or he's going, hey, 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 right? And it's this big anthemic thing, right? And then there'll be 10 songs on the album that are not that. And you're just like, where are the songs like Rob Zombie songs should sound, right? And then at the end, or maybe in the middle, they'll do another one and you're like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And so you listen to the album and you're like, what is this crap? Like, what's all this other stuff? Then you listen to the album again, you listen to the album again, you listen to the album again. And what you realize is, what's happening is it's like the Godzilla 2017 movie as well. The less you see Godzilla, the more you appreciate it when he's there. That is what heavy, chunky, like we just heard, Rob Zombie songs are like on almost every one of his albums. Every song will not be like we just heard. There will be all sorts of different things flying at you from all over the place. And one of the reasons I like this album is that everything we're going to hear on this album is a crisp, clear, sort of like electronic sound, right? Everything is going to be coming at you from a place of like it was probably created synthetically or really clean, you know. Whereas some of his other albums, everything has room tone, everything has crazy flange on it or chorusing and things like that. And so that's one of the things that's one of what I mean kind of when I talk about like production on his albums, because some of his albums just feel a lot more dirty and raw. And I know we talk about that word raw a lot, but it really does mean in the context that you talk about it, like it does mean way less produced on some of his other albums. This album is a really produced album. It sounds very produced, even when he's doing like weird stuff. So
I'm going to try to keep the asides to a minimum today.
Oh, okay.
But
sorry.
here's a crazy sidebar.
Okay.
On the way here, I went on this weird journey that I'm not going to tell you guys about in this video at least. And I decided that I was going to listen to whatever the top thing on Tidal, the top songs were.
Oh boy.
And it come up a song that I had heard before because I did this same kind of thing at school. And I heard the song F You Mean by Gunna. And
I think I might have heard that.
I guess it's like on the tops of stuff. It was on the Billboard Hot 100 or whatever it is a month or two ago. And it was on this Tidal thing now. But there's a yeah in that song that happens constantly. And I was listening to it and I'm like, this to me is what Raw is, because it's one file. It's one, as far as I can tell, I wasn't just listening to my car with road noise and all that stuff.
Right.
But it sounds like it was just one take of somebody going, yeah, or yeah, or whatever it is. And there's like some reverb delay on it, whatever there is. And that's it. And it was like the most raw thing. I could go on this whole thing about what is at least being listened to a lot on the streaming services. With rap, we could have a whole discussion about that. But that is raw to me. So because like there was nothing done to it. We'll
have to talk about what raw means, because I think that's really I definitely think we have different ideas of what makes something sound raw. But I
think so too.
But you can hear right to the bottom of it. Like I know exactly how they did it. They recorded it with one microphone. Yeah. And they put some delay and reverb on it, and it's like there is no hiding what this is, and there's no hiding it in the production. And like, right, if you were, and I was thinking on this on the way up here, I was like, well, if Patrick and I were making this record, we would have went and said that yeah, 15 times and would have edited the crap out of them and had all different crazy filters on all of the ones, and it would have just been like a thing. And there was no stereo information as far as I could tell in my car to it. It was just maybe the reverb.
It was just what it was there.
And it's just like, huh. But I guess people are into it. But anyway, that's what I would classify as raw. But
Okay.
not what Saint Anger is. Saint Anger is the opposite of raw. That thing was
Correct.
engineered to
You're
death.
absolutely right. Correct. Okay, so now we're going to move on to another thing Rob Zombie does. I feel like he intentionally releases the stupidest songs on his album as singles. That's just what he does. He's done it like on the last however many albums. Totally weird songs that definitely do not deserve to be singles at all are the singles. So this is Dead City Radio. I think there might be a caption. This is Dead City Radio and the New Gods of Supertown. And this is not my favorite song on the album, but this is the song he chose to release as the first single. Ready, Chris?
Yeah.
In 3, 2, 1.
Sounds completely different.
Totally different. Everything's still sort of right here, though.
This is more traditional rock metal mix here.
Okay. Would you be okay if I turned it up a little bit?
That's fine with me.
You can't not listen to Rob Zombie loud. That tambourine.
Is the organ on the whole record?
Nope.
But we get it the first two songs? Love it.
Tambourine is this is going to sound silly, Chris. Tambourine is a huge part of Rob Zombie's career all through his whole career. He uses these weird, like, different percussive things, but tambourine is a lot of them. And some of them feel very sort of like, it's a thing.
That is what that is. That was weirding me out for a minute, but now I... Like the mix is different because the guitars aren't up here and everything else is down here. Like the drums are like,
right.
Which
and the samples
are
like actually up here, which is really odd.
And the samples they're using to me sound like way more like live drum samples, like real drums. Maybe not that snare, but I mean, you can really hear the compression on the overheads.
Yeah, they're practically
You don't
gone.
think that these drums aren't real?
I don't think there's a real drum on the whole album. I would be shocked if there's a real drum on any Rob Zombie album since his first album.
Huh. I wasn't listening to that, but it's supposed to sound like real rock drums, and I think they sound great.
Some of the songs it is, and some of them it's not. How do you feel about this being like a radio single, though?
I get why it is, because the mix...
Makes perfect sense.
It's super compressed. It talks about listening to the radio.
And what about the verses when he's doing that? Let me talk to you about Dead Radio City, man. Let's talk to It's almost like Trucker, you know?
Mm-hmm.
We can talk about it when it's done. It's almost over.
There's verses? Those drums are... Okay, that's... Okay, those tom fills were fake.
What makes you say that?
Wow. What makes me say that?
Mm-hmm.
Because the way the timing is and the way that the samples are shortened on there. It's hard for me to... But, like, that timing being, like... It sounds, like, really precise. And then it has to do... In fact, I was, like... putting in some fake toms on some drum fills last night. And
I was going to say, I want to be clear. Like, I don't think you mean that in like a negative way
No,
when we
I-
say fake drums at all.
no, I mean,
We never would mean
all the
that.
popular music that actually makes money these days, nobody played drums on that stuff. Except for like,
Well, someone probably performed it on an electronic drum kit.
yeah, and then at least that tom
Anything
fill at
that's
the
rock
end
music,
was
at
like
least.
super quantized and whatever. But anyway, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it sounds quantized. And then when the tails, sometimes depending on the sampler that you're doing or whatever, destroy me in the comments because I'm wrong. What I did last night when I was replacing tom drums to make them sound better, because I'm terrible at tracking. This is like true confessions right here. But I had to replace some toms because I thought they sounded bad. And so what I did was I grabbed some tom samples and I went and I put them on another track. I just grabbed the samples in and I drug them in and lined them up with the original hits. And I'm going to blend them,
Yep.
whatever.
Yep.
But then when you listen to the fake toms, and all I do, right, you have a 4-second tom sample. And because the high tom gets hit twice, like, a quarter note apart, I'm only using the first little bit of it, and it just sounds different when you hear a real drum and you go bang, bang, than when you take a drum sample that's bang, and then you cut it and then put another one on it. Like the way that the tails work.
Oh, sure.
I could
That
make
makes
it
sense.
better. I could have made I could have made multiple tracks, and I could have let the things ride out into each other, and maybe that would have made it better. And then
Just take the tail off the second one and put it on another track.
And
under
there's
the
lots
first
of
one,
different
so-
ways to do drums like we're talking about. And
or if you just use a real sampling program. Patrick was doing hand signs, so now I'm doing them too. This is supposed to be a fun video because the rest of them aren't fun. Also, I'm going to eat a crap load of candy tonight because there's candy sitting in
I
front
know, I
of
was going to say, I should move this. Chris has already eaten like 4 cream savers. Do you know how rare cream savers are, man?
me. You can keep them away from me. Dude, anyway, I
So did you like
candy.
that song better than the first one?
No, I think I liked them the same. I think that
I agree with that.
I think that the first one was interesting because the mix was, I'm going to say weird.
Okay.
Not that I didn't like it. It was just totally different than, because that sounds like a rock song, and that sounds like it's supposed to be on the radio.
See, I vastly prefer track 1. Vastly. And I don't think it's necessarily a mix thing. I think it's more of like a stylistic thing. Like, I just love the heaviness and this sort of the sludginess.
The first one's more
first
Rob
track.
Zombie, from what I know,
Yeah.
which is not much. That's a Rob Zombie song, and this song sounds like Rob Zombie trying to get a song on the radio.
Yeah. Like I
When
said,
was it?
I think when we're done listening to this, you might realize that like what Rob Zombie's sound is not necessarily. But like I was saying, like every one of his albums has a song that's like what you think of as a Rob Zombie song.
Yes.
Then the rest of it is all just like whatever he felt like or whatever he was being inspired by that day in terms of what horror movie, what comic he was reading, what piece of artwork he saw. That's what each song has to. Every song has to be approached differently. And I really do think like this album is that a little bit contained more. Everything does feel a little bit more consistent. On his other albums, it is definitely like the other album we were going to listen to, which is the Lunar Injection Kool-Aid Eclipse Conspiracy. That album has, I think, like 19 tracks, and like every other track on the album is this weird little intermission track, kind of going into the next track to kind of like get you ready, even though it doesn't necessarily connect directly. Like we're not talking Pink Floyd here, but it is. That kind of like that's not on this album. Every song on this album is a real song with the exception of one, which is Theme for a Rat Vendor or whatever, which I think is maybe coming up next.
No, it's track 4.
That's track 4.
Track 4.
So when we get to that song, that's just a short track that leads into the next song. So we can just listen to 4 and 5 together.
It is in high fidelity, though. It says right on the album artwork.
Dude, all of his artwork is so cool. I would love to do a whole video just talking about it, but like his throwback, like there's a word that is associated with Rob Zombie that I don't associate with really anything else, and that is the word sleazy. Like
Interesting.
he has this like, and he's said it himself since the White Zombie days. Sleaze is like a word that he uses to describe his artwork, his movies, his music, everything. And there's not very many things in life that I would ever use that I would describe that way. But it absolutely fits with his aesthetic, his artwork, his movies. There's like a grittiness. It's like everything has like
one of my-
film grain over it and stuff. You know what I mean? Like
That's one of my favorite things about the Ponzi Scheme album by Firewater is that it's so sleazy.
correct. Yes, exactly. That's one of the Firewater albums I actually have is the Ponzi Scheme.
See, now,
nice.
We'll get into this a little bit more as we continue to listen to the record. But what I think is interesting. No, let's listen to another song.
We'll listen to another song, and then you can bring it up when it makes sense. Okay.
Good
Okay.
call.
All right, let's go to track 3. This is Revolution.
That's a great name for a song.
Revolution. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, are you ready to hear it?
Yes.
All right. Are you ready, Chris?
Mm-hmm.
In 3, 2, 1.
Do you know what all these samples are from?
No.
Cool.
I think they're all from different things.
Probably.
This song, I get that the instrumentation is way different. You can tell the drums are fake. There was a synthesizer that opened it up, blah, blah, blah. But this one sounds sonically sounds like
To
the first
track one? Track
No, track 2.
Oh.
I agree.
Distorted vocals, something I hate it when artists do too much, but I feel like Rob Zombie does a good job with it.
It's almost too much. It's almost too ringy and spiky, but it's good. And then crazy stereo vocals. Except for this one, 6 miles wide.
Do you know how much this sounds like Boom Boom Satellites?
That's interesting thought. I've never
Isn't that
connected those two
interesting?
bands in my head, but yeah.
Yeah.
They don't really use crunchy guitars like this as much, but yes.
But everything's either hard left, hard right, or center.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's nothing here. It's all out here or here. I think Roiazaki calls that an I-shaped, W mix.
This specifically is Boom Boom, especially the vocals.
Yeah, yes. I can see that.
Like that.
Yeah.
Like 80s stuff. I love those 80s
Yeah.
guitar riffs like that.
That's John Five's influence for sure. I was going to say another thing he does a lot is repeat words and phrases. Like he'll have whole choruses where literally the chorus is nothing but the word like, hey, yeah. He does that a lot.
Those stereo vocals like make me go cross-eyed like every time they start, right? It's like, huh? It's a little whammy pedal action in there.
Little Godsmack.
No, whammy pedal, not wah pedal.
Oh, whammy pedal. Sorry.
It's Rage Against the Machine.
Ah.
Or Pantera. That's it.
Isn't it nice not having...
Patrick likes this song, and that's how it ends.
But it was a folk song.
I
did
think
the
it
chorus-
should have went back to the...
They
What
did
did
the
it end
chorus
with?
3 times.
Did it end with the chorus?
Yeah.
It didn't sound like it ended,
Well,
though.
because you were listening to the every time over the void, you're like, that.
Those are weird notes. That I bet.
Dude.
I bet he didn't even
They didn't
record
do
that in
weird.
the song. There was probably just something they recorded before or after a song. I went and put it over.
They have
there.
a song on the other album we were listening to where that is like the core of it. Like during the chorus, there's just this weird like guitar thing that's similar to that very much, and it's so loud, it's louder than the vocals and everything. But it's like the hook of the song. I love it. So I've never noticed that part in this song. So that's actually great.
I think now I'm going to bring up the thing I was going to
Okay,
bring up before the last one.
okay.
This is even surprising me more. Number one, Patrick said that this all sounds like what I thought Rob Zombie was going to sound like so far.
Okay,
We're only 3 songs in.
that's fine. No, that's fine.
We're what? And there's like 12. I like it, but I like this. I'm not gonna go like listen to it and buy a T-shirt or whatever, but like I like it. more than some of the other stuff that we've listened to.
Sure.
Also, I like Metallica. For all of those guys that say that I don't, right? That was a good one though. Tell me you don't like Metallica without saying you don't like Metallica.
Yeah.
That's a great comment.
Yeah.
Chris Parker really likes Metallica. So,
That's according to the people.
yeah, I think they were talking about Patrick and I don't think they were talking about you.
I'm starting to like Metallica, that's for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, so
only got one more
here's
album
what I
to go.
think. I can do this, and I've been trying to pinpoint over time, and maybe some of the people at home too, because like people are so shocked at the stuff that especially Patrick hasn't heard of, or the stuff that Patrick doesn't like.
Yeah.
And you guys don't even know the depths of how deep Patrick's terrible music taste goes. It's incredible.
It's really something.
It's really something. It's impressive.
I'll talk about anything all day long. I have. There's no such thing as a guilty pleasure to me.
Yes. Yeah.
I only like music.
That should be the theme of the thing.
I
Of
only
the
like
whole
music
channel.
that's good, and all the music that I like is good in certain ways.
Yeah, right. But I think what's interesting about this is like there's a thing here with the Rob Zombie thing. I don't know exactly the words for it, like stylistically and all that kind of thing. And this I like, but I know that there's a bajillion other bands that try to do this. And there are probably a lot of Rob Zombie fans. And if you're one of them, do me a favor and help me weed these people out and just write down your other 5 favorite bands that are kind of like Rob Zombie.
There aren't many at all.
See, but I think that I don't know because I don't really listen to
That's
any
all
of
right.
this stuff.
You
But
do-
I think that in this moment is probably this doing the same thing.
In this moment is one of the only other bands I would mention.
Right, and
But you could also say like Marilyn Manson, 9 Inch Nails, maybe. But again, those maybe not 9 Inch Nails.
That's
but
not what I'm thinking of because I can.
It's all very industrial.
There's some sort of thing though because like
Okay.
the metal that Patrick likes that I don't, and that's most of it. Like we don't like the same kind of metal music primarily.
I think there's more crossover than you think. But yeah.
Anyway, there's getting to be because we've been listening to Metallica for the last 8 months, and
Mm-hmm.
Patrick is broadening his horizons to listen to good stuff.
I don't think that's true at all.
I know.
I think you're finally starting to understand some of the stuff I listen to.
I'm making fun of you.
I know, me too.
For humor sakes.
I know.
But there's something about this that's like there's some sort of real thing here that like
Right. It's like better than the average thing that would be like this.
it's like some
There's an extra layer here of something that makes it better or it's more special.
real is probably
I think it's the fact that he doesn't take himself too seriously.
I think that helps a lot too because like if you're gonna be making this silly like arena like shock rock kind of stuff, like it shouldn't be serious, and you can tell by his album titles and by the song titles that it's not serious. And like
I was going to say earlier, the number one thing that helps me determine, I mean, other than everything about Rob Zombie, the fact that he doesn't take himself too seriously is the fact that he has tambourine all over his music.
but it works.
sure.
I mean,
It
whatever.
absolutely
You gotta,
does.
No, it totally works.
It's gotta be
it
a
totally works.
hi-hat
But I
or a
feel like if he
shaker
was
or a tambourine.
overly serious, that he wouldn't do it because it's you're just like, I mean, he's Rob Zombie. He's singing about like sinister this and Satan that. It's this dark sleazy, and it's
Yeah.
like, but tambourine. And it's like, but tambourine means that he doesn't subscribe to this stuff like it's some kind of
And I think-
identity. He's just being a goofball.
And I think another thing to add on top of that too is like if another band was singing lyrics that he was singing about in terms of like some of the like religious stuff he talks about and like some of the like ways he does mention like Satan and Jesus and stuff, other bands would maybe make me a little bit uncomfortable. But like with him, it's like a different world. You know, it's like I said, I just think about every song as being like the soundtrack to a movie he wishes he made. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like when you think about it like that, it's just like, yeah, like every one of these songs has these elements and things to it that make it slightly unique compared to the other stuff. So far, these first 3 songs are. This album is the most like we're gonna hear a lot of stuff like this. Again, his other albums are very different, but like. I don't know. We'll get to some different and interesting stuff here for sure. So yeah, we don't need to go on forever between the songs. We can go to the next one. So I think this is the short one that goes that I believe goes into the next one. So this is Theme for the Rat Vendor. Let's pause, Chris, just real quick after this is done. It doesn't go right into it, I don't think. What's the next song after this? Ging Gang Gong De Dugong De Laga Raga.
God.
Ging gang gong.
Just say ging gang gong.
Ging gang gong. No, it's ging gang gong de do gong de laga raga. This is his third attempt on his third album to do sort of like a scatty type thing. And let me tell you,
And he makes everybody else do it too, I guess.
I love it when he does it. I love it when he does this. I love it when he does it. So let's just listen to the next two tracks together, one in a row, or just one right into the next one. Okay, Chris? All right, first this is theme for Rat Vendor, and then going into Ging Gang Gong De Goo Gong De La Garaga.
You don't have to say it all every time.
You do have to. You do.
You don't.
You'll hear it. You'll see. All right, in 3, 2, 1.
Do I look like I'm ready?
Okay. So this is John 5. He bought his first sitar when he joined Rob Zombie, and he was like, "Can we put some sitar on this album?" And Rob Zombie was like, "Yes,
Sitar?
please." And it's
Sitar.
all sitar. Is it not? Oh, sitar. Sorry, sitar. That's how I always pronounced it, looking at the patch on the keyboards that I've owned my whole life. But anyway, John 5 has there's sitar on every one of Rob Zombie's albums that John 5 plays on. And it's really badass and cool. And on that Black Sabbath-y one, Educated Horses, it's like an integral part to several songs, and oh man, it's so cool. So cool. Normally I'm not a big Congo Bongo fan, but
Everything's still relatively like mostly front. So these little hand drums are kind of spreading out into the sides, but it's still super front.
Well, now it's crazy stereo. Front or sides? Middle or front? A little octave pedal on there. Then the guitars
Is that
change,
even his
right?
voice?
Right here?
Yeah. Like this kid sounds like it could be a different
Ooh.
singer. There it goes. How Kid Rock is this?
a little bit, but
Don't ruin
I
it
don't know.
for us. You don't have to say stuff like that.
See, to me, it doesn't get sucked down that much there. I feel like
The
it gets
second
bigger.
time it didn't. It doesn't get bigger enough.
Huh.
They should have high passed some stuff and then let that.
Here we go.
Dugong is a Pokemon.
He probably knows that.
Does.
I always think that's a little cringy. I don't know.
Yeah. I agree.
There's some wah guitar.
Yep,
That's what really makes this part bigger. That's a weird. It's cool.
A robot.
That's the end of that song.
Yep.
Patrick, they need to hear the chorus like 4 more times. I can't believe that you like this.
This is what music should be.
There's
not
2 choruses in that song.
No, the chorus is the Peking duck part, not the ging gang gong de do gong de laga raga.
No, I was gonna say that there's 2 pieces of music that are the chorus.
Oh, I see.
Right, because there's the skull on her ass part, and then there's the
Ging gang gong de do gong de laga raga. Right. I love it.
So I said Kid Rock because I was thinking, what is the visual that goes along with this song?
Yeah,
and
right.
It's someone in a busted up old pickup truck with sticking a beer out the window as he like drives in circles down a dirt driveway.
Well, and also on the first Kid, the big one, whatever it
Ba
was,
Ba Da
the
Ba.
Ba Da Ba, of course. I mean, who didn't listen to that record 50,000 times?
It's a phenomenal record.
Anyway, but like that same distortion thing that same vocal distortion thing was present on that. I had the song in my head when we were listening to that Rob Zombie song, and now it's gone. But
it's trash rock.
It is in this. Yes, it's like redneck. Yeah, for sure.
I really like it, and he hasn't done it yet on this record, that when he sings the longer notes and does the drawl thing, I really like that. I think that suits his voice very well.
Yeah, I really think that you would like that more Black Sabbath-y one, for sure. Okay, I just wanted to point out a couple of lyrics from this song, because I really like the lyrics in this song. I don't normally care about that stuff, but we were just talking in the previous break between songs about like how, it's not super serious. Here's the first verse. They call me the shindig Johnny Punk, a regular ghost face peep show funk. They call me Screaming Lord Dinosaur, commander-in-chief of a voodoo war. They call me Mother Superior Joe, broadcasting Casanova radio. They call me King Kong Raisin Bran, a fortified Hollywood devil man. That's badass.
How?
That's cool.
I mean, it's cool. I don't know if it's badass.
I guess it's just nonsense.
It is. And
I think it's cool though. Like everything.
But it is a completely different type of nonsense than what Lou Reed was doing.
Oh my god.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, it like you were saying, like, it does put you in a place. Like, you kind of understand what he's going for. They call me the Mozart gypsy slave, turning on the girls with the sonic waves. They call me the television iron face, floating on a moon base in outer space. They call me junk flesh pointy ear, laughing at an old crusty mouseketeer. They call me the dirty pig Alley Dan, a Hollywood fast-talking devil man. I just think that that's cool.
There's so much hippie culture in his music in a
because
really
he's a
interesting
hippie.
way.
He grew up in the 60s and the 70s.
Right.
70s
But,
mostly.
I mean,
but
so
yeah.
did a lot of people, and they certainly didn't go his route.
But see, but like to me,
The thing
that
is, like
sounds
we were
like
saying though, it's all like kind of tongue in cheek though too. Like
Yeah, for sure.
oh, and it's but like you can like I mean, right? Nobody sits like wherever in a cabin in the woods with the wood fire going, wearing your scarf, and like writes those lyrics down like the people that are like really proud of their lyrics or whatever do.
no.
Come at me. Not you, the internet.
I don't even know how to come at you with that, but all right.
But like, what that reminds me of is that on some Zakk Wylde record, and there's lots of parallels that you could draw between.
Yeah, yes.
Right, at least like the
the
Black Label Society music and this in a way, like some of the guitar riffs and like
for sure,
whatever.
And I will say, Rob Zombie's music did not always have this sort of like southerny feel to it.
Oh, I'm not even talking about the southerny thing. I'm just talking about like the whatever. It's like guitar based, like it's rock music, but it's really heavy rock music or whatever it is, and that's kind of what Zakk Wylde does with Black Label Society.
Sure.
But like he was in some interview one time, and you know how if you don't know how Zakk Wylde is, you should read all of Zakk Wylde stuff. You should go read his book because he's freaking hilarious. But he was talking about, he's like, well, I wrote a record and I had all these songs written, but I needed to do the words, so I just sat down and wrote the lyrics. I did it, and like
that, and that's what I was saying. Like when
these are just lyrics,
they're just words, and like because a lot of Zakk Wylde songs, I'm thinking of the stuff from Mafia, whatever, and he does the thing. He's even lazier with it because on I think it's on Mafia, there's at least one song, if not several, where like the first half of the verse is one line, and then the second half of the verse is the same lyric.
Oh, I hate it when bands do that.
I mean, I hate it when blues guys do that, but when Zakk Wylde does it, love it.
Right,
I
right,
mean,
right.
whatever. I like worship
Yeah.
the ground that man walks on. But like, anyway, I don't know where I was going with that. I liked that. I liked it. The lyrics are silly, and for this, who cares? Like, he just says weird crap.
Yeah.
Like, who knew
Yeah.
the word raisin bran was in there?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, that's ridiculous. It's fun.
And again, like I said, they go into the studio without any really like anything. And so you're absolutely this is a case where I'm pretty sure the music all came first.
I had to.
And then the vocals just come after the fact. But like I don't care, it doesn't bother me.
Why would it bother you?
Well, I know some people would probably say that that's maybe less integrity or whatever put into the vocals or something. I don't know.
That's how rap music is done.
Vocals, lyrics, much like tattoos, do not always need to mean anything.
There we go. That's the quote
Full
of the
circle.
day.
Okay, are you guys ready for rock and roll in a black hole?
Yes.
Yes.
Are you ready, Chris? I just asked you, but yes. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Patrick clicked the wrong song. That bass synth being off to one side is a little unsettling, but
I'm getting a cramp in my leg.
makes the center guitar more impactful, though.
When it comes in, yes.
That's a fuzz pedal turned all the way up. Oh, man.
Oh, this is cool.
Yeah?
This is cool.
Now that guitar stereo. Oh, man.
Something keeps disappointing you.
It's the stupid bass that's on the... it's on the right,
right
side.
side.
I don't
Yeah.
like it. The first time it was cute, but it keeps coming back to it.
Yeah.
Now there should be a
it's
synth on their
cool.
side going beep, beep, beep,
Nah.
beep, 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 beep. Oh, those scream samples are... That's a scream, right?
I don't think so. I think it might be a sound effect of a car, maybe.
I thought it was...
It's either a scream or something like that.
I really like the way he says mind.
That guitar has gotten wider every time. It was mono, and then it was here, and now it's here. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed it. Yo. Oh, they got me.
I love that he took his time with that.
I love that. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Whatever that little
Yeah.
thing in the middle is. Whatever. That's very
See,
Silent Hill.
it should be matched,
Yamaoka.
though, over on the left. It should... Those guitars sound great.
Oh, yeah. And the drums are still big, right? So it doesn't have that problem that you had on the first track.
Oh, I mean, right. Yeah.
There's so much room for their drums.
Oh, there's, snots of reverb on them, right?
No, I just mean like the guitars are just so hard left, right. The drums being in the middle, they have nothing to compete with. Rob Zombie has a vibe. He has an aesthetic, and I'm trying to figure out if it's an aesthetic that he created or if it's something else that I can apply to it, because every single one of his songs, regardless of how different they are from each other, you hear it and there's just such a style, like a visual style involved in whatever he's making. It's this really weird, like black light, hippie, like acid trip show with all of the hallmarks of like stuff from the 60s and like flower power and all of this really
Lots of nudity.
Yeah, just a lot of like the free nudity stuff, like
free love stuff,
like Woodstock, type of vibe.
Yeah,
but it's also in a unique, because there's not anything else that exudes that style in the same way.
Right.
And it's just I'm just trying to pinpoint, because he is and it's really interesting how he can continue to capture that vibe with a bunch of songs that are seemingly wildly different from each other.
Yeah, I really want us to do his most recent album as well, because there's just something really special about that album as well as this one. But there's just you're right, there is just definitely some, I think a lot of it has to do with like the samples. Like so many bands use samples, but for the most part bands will just use samples at the beginning of a song, and then once the song starts, that's it. But Rob Zombie uses samples, like in the lyrics of that last song we were listening to, Rock and Roll in a Black Hole, one of the lyrics that is listed as an actual lyric in the song is what that guy says in the pre-chorus or whatever time. It's that sample where he says, "You might think you're normal, but we're all mutations," or something like that. And then he goes right into "We're all dancing in a black hole." Like that's actually listed as a lyric of the song.
And that's
in the
very
booklet.
power, man.
It
really is the fact that they're brothers is one of the least surprising things.
I know, it's so awesome though. So awesome that is the case.
It is.
Did you know that, or do you care about that? Yeah. And if you told me to pick one of them, I do not know what I would probably pick. Spider. Like to hang out with Spider for sure. But
I think I like Power Man better than Rob Zombie. You heard it here first. I don't think I've ever said that before.
Power Man 5000 has bad albums. I do not think Rob Zombie has a bad album.
Interesting.
I think that the best Power Man 5000 songs no.
Are better than?
Nope. I think the best Rob Zombie songs are better than the best Power Man 5000 songs. However, I think Power Man 5000 has like 3 masterpiece albums, whereas I would say Rob Zombie has 1 masterpiece album.
I see.
And when I say masterpiece, mainly what I mean is, like we were talking about before, perfect album. Like you don't have to skip a single song. Every song is fire from front to back.
Yep.
And all right, let's keep going.
Onward, yeah.
We are on to Behold the Pretty Filthy Creatures.
All right.
In 3, 2, 1.
Under 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that sound is, that's the most Rob Zombie thing of all time.
Curious what you think of this one, Chris.
Guitar tone is less good on this one than what
Okay.
we've heard so far.
I agree with that.
It's like softer in like the high
It
mids.
is softer.
Like,
Do you think they sacrificed that a little because of what the song is doing?
no,
So
I
the
don't-
drums could be a little bit more?
I don't think this is doing anything different than the last one was.
Okay, okay.
Not significantly. I mean, I think it sounds good,
Right.
but I like the other one better with like that more pick attacky kind of
Okay.
sound. They might have been making room for the bass.
Hold on, this part's
This is
awesome.
cool.
Organ's back.
Yep.
Yeah, love it. And then just that hard stop.
Yep, and that's it. So that one only does the chorus twice.
Well, it doesn't have time for any others. Mm-hmm. It's only 2:55.
So, yeah, okay, so you thought maybe not mixed necessarily as good?
Maybe right after I said that, then there was like some big bass fill that was supposed to be in your face, right? And it was a great bass tone. So maybe, whatever. People do stuff all in different ways.
Well, and I'm sure that what they probably do is like they may work on a song until they get it to the point where they think it's pretty much finished, and then that's it,
For sure. Well, and then there was
it might
that
not-
organ thing at the end, and you have to make some room for that somewhere. And
Yeah.
I think that a lot of what I was missing in the guitars, a lot of times, like that little bass thing that happened, and then that organ thing was like somewhat in that frequency, right? You have to make. Yeah, and I thought that the drums were missing kind of the same thing too. It might have been a mastering.
Okay.
thing.
See, to me, on that song, the drums sounded way more fake than they have on some of the other songs. Like the kick especially, I was like, ooh, this is really like very fake sounding. Again, and I don't say that, I shouldn't go oof, because I don't mean it in a bad way. I just,
Only the rock guys think it's a bad thing, and it's fine. All the drums you hear on anything that sounds good now are fake. So there was I don't know how to say the band name, that Allegion band. I guess there was a new song. Maybe it came out today.
a new song from Allegion? Let's go.
The drums are so unbelievably fake. It's not the hi-hat sample at the beginning, like, and to me, whatever, come at me again. That's my thing now. But like the hi-hat,
Come at me, bro.
There's like a clean guitar thing. I can't remember if it's acoustic or electric.
They use a
intro,
lot of clean acoustic guitar.
whatever it was, and like there's a hi-hat in the background to keep the time, but it's just tick, 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 tick. And if they just even would have made it tick, 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 or
But it's just so uniform.
it's so uniform, and then but God, I was thinking about this, and I want to bring it up in the video today. That stuff like that, and like we talk about stuff like sounding bad or saying the mixes sound bad, and a lot of times we don't go into an incredible amount of detail about that. But one of the things that I have picked up on lately, doing this and at school and whatever, just listening to things, but when there's something like that that's so like that ticks you off, that was like so poorly hidden, that or so poorly done, then I start listening for mistakes. Or like I start listening for stuff that's wrong.
It makes your ear listen to more things that you could be annoyed
Right.
with.
I mean, then I'm just like looking for stuff that's wrong instead of like enjoying parts
Enjoying
of
the
the
mix.
song.
Yeah, yeah.
For example, something that was done terribly, go listen to that Luke Combs cover of that Tracy Chapman song, Fast Car, right? I guess that was a big one too. Let's go listen to it with headphones on. If you're watching this channel, you're probably not going to do that, but you should. There's some really bad panning thing. The whole song I think it's a guitar on one side. No, it's a steel. it's like a lap steel or something, or a pedal steel, whatever. It's unbalanced. It's very far to one side, and there's nothing that balances out in the whole song. This song was like top of the charts. It's made $1 bajillion or whatever. We listened to this in school.
Yeah, nobody cares.
And we started talking about it, and like, you know, within about 5 minutes after listening to that song, we came up with this story. It's a cover song and blah, 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 blah. And you hear this one thing, and then all of a sudden, for the whole rest of the listen to the song, I'm just like, okay, where's the mistakes at? And we get done listening to it, and we're having a discussion about this, and like we come up with this story, which is probably not too far from the truth, that they were like, well, we need a song that's going to get played on the radio because we're going to go on tour, or we need to sell this record, or we need to get people to listen to this, so we're going to do a cover. We got one day in the studio to knock it out, and like whatever happened and then you, oh sorry, that was a crappy story, you can cut it if you want, but
I understand what you mean.
When you start like that Allegiance song, right, like I hear that fake hi-hat, and then like before the song's even started, I'm like, okay, get your ears ready. We're listening to how fake the drums are now, you know, and like we're gonna listen to whatever else is.
Yeah, I don't know. I understand exactly what you're saying. I don't necessarily think that I listen to music that way. My problem is if I hear something that's like that's wrong, like usually, like I've said on my channel here like a bunch this year. If there's not enough high frequencies, then I am like done. I don't care what happens the rest of the album. I'm done. You screwed up one of the most basic elements of what music is, and it's consistent across the whole album, which means a bad decision was made somewhere, and I don't even need to waste my time listening to this. So like, for me, if it's an egregious thing like that, then I'm like, I'm done. But if I hear something that's like annoying to me or something, I think that I could maybe get over it. I don't know. I can't get over songs fading out and stuff.
I think for me, it's the stuff that like should be hidden that wasn't.
I see. Okay.
Or like
or if they would have just taken a little extra time to tweak it, it would have been much better than it is.
Isn't that like the
one of my favorite things about being on this side of the curtain in terms of production of things? You know, you create a thing and then it goes out and it is consumed. Is how often things that, you know, working in $1 billion industry, like as music and then specifically in gaming, for example, where it's like, this is a game that is, you know, made and goes out and people pay for it in droves. And it's everything about it is like, you expect a certain level of professionalism, quality, and, you know, you just have sort of an image in your mind of a level of like everybody who's working on this is an expert. They've got all their shit together. Everything is, you know, it's very strategically metered and, you know, all intentional, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And the regularity with which things, and this isn't just gaming, this is everything, but the regularity with which things go out and it's like, oh yeah, that was broken. Like that thing there, you know, it's like, oh yeah, if you listen real close in this song on the soundtrack, you know, the composer's dog is in there just somewhere in the back because he forgot to swap this track out when he re-recorded it and stuff like that.
Right,
and it's just, it's just so often, there's just so many little things where it's like, this is a mess, but it's good. You have the benefit that you have of the fact that no one who's going to listen to it knows what, you know,
is correct.
They don't know what's correct. They don't know what's correct. They don't know what it sounded like before. They don't know what it sounds like without that thing in it. That's a mistake. And they just think, well, this is what it is.
Yep.
And
if they even notice the thing at all. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's kind of to your point about how, like, you know, there are all of these little mistakes and weird problems and stuff where it's like, I was watching an episode of VFX Artists React, a Corridor Crew, which is one of my favorite shows on Saturdays. They were talking to a director who did some movie he was the guy that directed The Green Knight. He did a different movie with Robert Redford.
Yep.
And there's a scene early on in the movie.
Old Man.
Where,
it's called Old Man with a Gun. Old Man and a Gun.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a scene in the beginning where he's like using a file on some prison bars or something to get out of this thing. And the shot is like, you know, it's just head on and he's like bent over doing this thing. And his face is kind of out of focus just based on how the shot is structured. And if you look really closely at it, all they did was cut out a picture of Robert Redford as a younger man. And they taped it to the nose of some guy. And then that's just it.
Yeah.
But it works.
Yep.
But it totally worked because it's like, this is an out of focus shot. This isn't where you're supposed to be paying attention. And it's just, this was a stupid idea that we had for this really low budget solution, and it worked great. And it's like, these are my favorite things in the world, is when it's like, here's a busted, weird, like totally shitty thing that should never ever have worked, and it totally did, and it rules.
Did you see it when you watched the movie? Did you know that that's what it was before you watched it?
I'd never seen the movie, but I saw them when they were talking about it on that episode. I didn't, they showed the clip first, and then it wasn't until they brought that up, and I was like,
that stuff is so cool when it like gets by you, and I like know that everybody has different things that they're sensitive to, like whatever that you pick up on like that, and for people that create things, like the things that you have had problems with. Like, right, like I think about the way that I listen to records, and then the things that I listen for in records are things that I have struggled with, like to get right on the stuff that I make. And so like, that's the stuff I'm always listening for the most.
Yeah,
right?
I hear that. Yeah.
Like, right, I have discussions with this one guy regularly who every time we listen to anything, all he wants to talk about is the delay and reverb settings on stuff. And I'm like, I do not give a rat's patoot about this, since this is a Christian Minecraft server.
A venomous rat's patoot.
Right, I don't care. and like, I like it all.
Right.
Because like, I've never had a problem with that. Like,
right. That's not something you listen for.
It's not something I listen for.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's interesting to hear him talk about that, because I'm like, oh God, you can hear that. And so then like, I pay attention now, but it's the stuff that I'm like, who hurt you? What reverb hurt you? Like,
is that the same guy who like only uses delays to make reverbs? He doesn't actually use reverb?
It's the same guy.
That story will sit in my brain for the rest of my life.
Okay, hey, hold on. I'm cutting us off. We're gonna listen to the next song.
Because like Chris is already way past his bedtime.
You guys are. Okay, so this next song.
I'm fine. It's 7:30.
The next song we're getting to, this is one of my favorite songs on the album. This is White Trash Freaks. You ready, Chris?
There it is, right there. He said it in the title.
Yep.
White Trash Freaks.
Yep. In 3, 2, 1.
Oh, that bass is doing so much when it comes in. Wow. Love that delay. I do.
I know. It's just funny. Shake it, baby. Shake it, baby.
That bass. There's what a weird, I love it.
That lyric delay, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
At the ends of the phrases, yeah. Shake it, baby, shake it. If it's not broke, don't fix it, right? Like that Meet the Creeper callback here, Chris.
Big time. Big time, Meet the Creeper. Love that song.
Okay. Any comments on that one?
The way that the bass would come in, just bump, and then go back out during the chorus was just like, it was such a huge deal for the way that chorus sounded. So interesting.
I think part of that is the guitars as well. Like,
Sure.
that is a song that was maybe detuned a little bit, right? To down, probably drop D or whatever. And that first note is just the bah, like the lowest you're going, and then the rest of
But
it
then
is
it drops
nice
away.
little high part, and then bah.
Well, it was on those
And it
hits,
just-
right? But just
Correct.
Yeah, but the way it just like, it just changed the whole size of the song. It was really great.
and I think that there's distorted guitars doing the same thing too.
Yeah,
for sure. And like I was saying, this part of me listens to that and goes, it kind of feels a little like copy and pasty, right? Like you've really only got like 2 parts to the song. You just copy and paste it for the choruses. And that was one of the things that Power Man 5000 fell victim to over the course of like 3 albums, where they only wrote 2 parts of a song, and it felt like there was just a verse and a chorus, and they basically just copied and pasted them. And I don't know, to me, that's a little bit lazy. I like it when you throw in a 3rd part, the bridge. But I do like that song.
I think that's a pretty universally accepted
No,
standard.
I understand. I'm just saying, like, you know, Metallica doesn't do that, right? Every note that you're hearing throughout the songs is a note that they played in that part, right? It's not necessarily copied and pasted.
Oh, you're saying that like the backing for the verses is like the same thing, like
Yeah.
it's literally copied and pasted.
Yeah, and like literally the chorus is literally just copied and pasted. I think the vocals, there's no variation. There's literally nothing. It is copied and pasted. And then they had that second part where he's just going, white trash freaks and boogaloo dogs. Like the 3rd time the chorus happened, they copied and pasted another time and put that sort of other vocal line, the white trash freaks and boogaloo dogs, over it. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean when I say like copied and pasted. Like I made music like that for a long time. And then I started to try to add more variance and variety to like things later in the song. And whether it's just adding another layer of something or something that hasn't been in the song so far, some of this to me is very copy and pasty.
See, and this goes right back to what I was just talking about. When you've had troubles with something, or you went way out of your way to go fix a problem, that those are the things that you're sensitive to.
Yeah.
Because I mean, and right, like you keep talking about these lyrics that are in these songs, and like I haven't heard any of them.
Oh,
I catch a
sure.
few words here and there, but I'm like just listening to it.
Well, I mean, and again, I've listened to this album a lot of times, but like this year specifically, because I was hoping we were going to do this, for the last like 8 months, I have been listening to everything Rob Zombie ever released. Just nonstop, constantly, on headphones, down here, in my car, everywhere. And so like I'm as Rob Zombied up as I will ever be right now at this moment. And so I'm aware of a lot of different things. And like to me, the way this album fits into his catalog is like the coolest vibe thing that I'm feeling right now. And that is something that I cannot unfortunately share with either of you. You know what I mean? Like to me, it's so important to judge something based on how it fits into an entire artist's catalog. And when you have an artist that you truly love, it's really hard in some cases to separate any of their albums from any of their other albums. I've said that forever about Depeche Mode. Like, I do not think Depeche Mode's ever released a bad album, which means, in my opinion, they have released, at this point, 16 amazing albums. And so, like, there are Depeche Mode albums that, if I thought about it, like, numerically, that I like more than some of the albums that I consider to be my favorite albums of all time. But I would never think of it like that, because I only think of Depeche Mode's entire catalog as one thing. Does that make sense? I know it doesn't necessarily make sense, but, like, so, like, for Rob Zombie, the way these songs remind me of songs, like in that song in particular, there is a Meet the Creeper reference, like a specific, like I think they use the exact same jugga jugga jung sound that is at the beginning of Meet the Creeper, which is a famous song that was in Twisted Metal 3 and then was on his first album. And so that's what I mean when this album has callbacks to earlier Rob Zombie. Like I think there are literally like melodies on this album that appear exactly on some of his other stuff, just with different words. And so to me, there's all these things that make it cool because I've experienced all those other things as well. And like I said, I'm filled to the brim on my like Rob Zombie-ness. So, either of you guys have anything else to say about that song? Because we're going to be coming up on probably the most unique song on the album.
I'm looking forward to that because what I was gonna say, like you said, that it was your favorite one. I liked it. I've liked all of this stuff.
I like
so
the
far.
grooviness of that one.
Yeah.
I just don't. I'm whatever. I'm listening to it for the first time. I'm not getting a huge difference between the songs,
Okay.
but
That's fair.
I'm also like,
Like I said, I chose this album on purpose because it had the least variety between them, which was why I was so second guessing myself.
and I'm in mix
You know.
mode right now. Like my brain is on that, and so
Yeah,
I'm like
yeah.
listening to sounds.
Yeah.
And now I'm thinking about fake drums, which is something that I think about a lot. And I don't mean that in a bad way, since that's the rumming joke that we're doing.
If you want to talk about drums, maybe wait until after this next one.
Yeah,
I will say,
Yes.
Go ahead,
the
Chris.
problems that when I mentioned before, having heard this album a little bit and having it basically throw me off, I think it was that second song and how much different it was from everything else.
Yep.
Where I was like, well, this is not what I'm looking for, and
Yeah.
I just didn't even bother going further than that.
Yeah.
And now that we're farther into the record, I will say that song does sound, it's like weaker now. Like I can look back in time and I can be like, no, that was sort of a soft spot. I've liked everything else a little bit more, but
The fact that it's the radio song it just keeps getting clearer.
He always see to me that is like the least radio song. I guess it
No,
depends.
I know, but I mean the fact that it is the one that he made for the radio, because that song doesn't really fit the rest of the album, I'd say.
Oh, I see what you mean. See, to me, that just seems like it's the song that fits on the radio the least, but it depends what you think of like radio. Like if you're going to put songs out next to like a Slipknot song or a Korn song or a Taproot song or whatever, I don't even know whatever bands that are popular now, like a Falling in Reverse song or a Bullet for My Valentine song, you would not put Dead City Radio on there. But it's the same thing with that. His big song off of that Black Sabbath album I keep mentioning, which has to be the album we do next if we do another one, which we should. So like and subscribe to this video in particular, and leave a comment if you want us to do more Rob Zombie, which I really hope you do.
we have to get more engagement to do different bands. That's like a thing.
Yeah, because our
that's true.
Metallica videos get thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of like interactions, and the other videos on my channel, if we're lucky, get 1,000 if we're lucky. But anyway, what I was going to say was the single on that album is called Foxy Foxy, and I think it is the worst, maybe not the worst, but like I think it is one of his absolute worst songs, and that is the single. I just don't understand it. And Sick Bubblegum off of his album, the next album, is just as bad. It's like he's picking the songs that are like, that have like really unconventional, uncatchy verses, maybe kind of a catchy chorus, but like the verses on all of these songs that I just mentioned are like super weird. And that Dead City Radio one where he's like, let me tell you about Dead City Radio, man. And he like goes and talks and talks and talks basically over the verse, like doing like a calling sign for like a C.W. McCall thing, like I said, like a trucker thing. Which he does do trucker stuff on occasion on his albums, like straight up legit trucker stuff. And so, which I think would fit with his aesthetic. And I think you guys would agree with that. And when we hear one of those songs that's like specifically that, you'll be like, it's pretty cool. But like, I don't know. Okay, let's go to the next one. This is a weird one. Chris, you looked at the titles of the songs. So do you know what this song is?
We're an American band.
Yeah. Do you know what that song is?
Is it a cover of the original?
It is a cover of the original.
What? Really?
Interesting.
Oh, I'm interested.
Are you guys ready for this?
I was.
In 3,
Yeah.
2, 1. Not a live song.
.38 special, right?
I don't know. Something like that.
I'm not sure.
Their version sucks compared to this, I'm sure.
Oh, God. Shut up. Grand Funk Railroad.
Yep.
That riff
Listen to
just
that bell.
rips no matter. I like how they do the vocal delay and reverb to like try to make it do that live feel, like, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of convincing. was this not the single?
Because it's a single.
That's a
or it's a
question.
cover.
So what?
People love covers.
People love
singles.
covers.
It's freaking awesome, right?
I hate this song, but
Do you really?
I'm enjoying the cover.
Why?
I don't know.
That riff is awesome. The cowbell
It is
is
awesome.
sweet.
Omaha. He just said Omaha. You guys missed it.
I hate you. I fucking hate you. For
I hate
that.
you too. I can't wait till we hear Metallica mention it and turn the page or whichever. Whiskey in the jar or whatever.
Let's turn
Nope,
the
you had it
page.
right the first time.
He's talking about 2 girls in Omaha right now.
No, he's not.
Come on, dudes.
I like this cover of this song.
All of Rob Zombie's covers are amazing.
All of Metallica's covers are amazing.
Harmonized guitar solo.
See, the thing about making it sound live is that they're still not sacrificing the clean nugget in the middle, and they need to.
It still sounds like it belongs on this album, right?
I guess.
Enough.
I know what I'm going to say. Let me tell you. Making something sound like it is happening outdoors is unbelievably difficult.
Yeah.
I spent so much time while I was working on that D&D podcast. I spent so much time trying to make things sound realistically outdoors in big open spaces.
Well, this one's easier though because like the sound of a PA outside is a lot different. Like that's somewhat easy because those delays that are happening way far left and right and that reverb sound, like right, whatever, it's representing hitting a building or just the PA being farther
well, that's the
away
thing
or-
is like I'm picturing this as like a huge outdoor concert without a ton of reflection, but there's still such a very specific way that things sound outdoors, and everything
like
reverb based is always going to be built around the idea of being in a room.
I see
So
what you mean.
that the outdoorsiness of that, the fact it didn't sell me on the fact that it was live because it sounded too contained. It was still like, if this is live, it's still definitely in a relatively small-ish room. The room that this sounds like it's in is not big enough to hold the number of people that is supposedly being, on display.
I see. Goes back to the thing when you've had problems with something, you're way more sensitive to it because, like,
Yep.
if I listen to that 30 seconds of that song once and somebody told me, "Oh, that was live recording," I'd be like, "Okay, it sounds really good, but sure."
Yeah, that too. And that's another thing is the liveness, because I started listening to S&M the other day in my car because I've been trying to decide, which of course in the car is not the best place to make this decision, but I was like, will Patrick like the way this sounds? Does it sound
I think a lot
good
of people
enough?
are really curious about that.
Does it sound good enough as a live recording to pass muster? And so I was listening to it and I was like, really focusing on it, trying to think like, what is it that makes it sound live? Because I'm getting the mix. Like there's nothing that's lost in the mix anywhere. The bass and drums, the strings, vocals, everything's there where it belongs. What is it that makes it sound live? And I think that there is an element of like in this song, for example, another thing that made me feel less like this was truly live is that even though you've got all of this like reverb and delay that's sort of emulating the outdoorsiness of it, there's a nugget of clarity in the vocals, at the very least, that was the thing that triggered me specifically, was there's a nugget of clarity in the center of all of the stuff going on from the vocals, where it's like, you go to a live show, someone could talk directly into a microphone, and you have absolutely no damn idea what they said to you. Like, I've been at so many live shows where they're like, and everybody's like, woo, and I'm like, what are you kidding me? Nobody knows what they said. I will not be told that you people understood what they said. And it's like, it was just way too clear in that recording.
See, to me, I don't think that they're. I think at the beginning maybe, and maybe at the end, I guess they were trying to emulate like a live show, but like. Yeah. To me, after the beginning part was over, it felt, to me, sonically very similar to that earlier song we heard that was a faster one. There was the da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Maybe the guitar tones and the drum sounds were the same.
Yeah,
but like
sonically
the
to
whole
me.
time that like that reverb and delay thing that was going on was to make it sound like a PA system in an outdoor thing. Like that's absolutely where my mind's eye was the whole time. I did not.
But that's what that song's about, though. Right? Like contextually, that song is about being an American band touring on the road. And they're talking talking. I know.
Is it? I'm asking you.
Oh,
okay.
No.
All right. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure. No, I'm saying no. I said it like that because now I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
But
you're like, oh no.
No.
You mean like the original single version from what?
Yeah,
from
Grand Funk Railroad.
Grand Funk Railroad.
Grand Funk.
I keep wanting to say.
I'm
38
sure
special.
not. I'm sure it's not, but. There might have been a.
There are some songs where, like, the most popular radio version is just forever.
Yeah, just that terrible Bruce Springsteen Christmas song.
Oh, and that terrible Cheap Trick song. We've had this discussion before.
We did. We have had.
The Cheap Trick one is so bad.
Hey, hold on. While we're talking about,
I want you to want me.
While we're talking about what's bad, Chris Parker disagreed, I think, with something I said in the comments of the Lulu video. I actually posted this on Facebook the other day, and like the two people that saw it were like, I disagree with you, or you're stupid, your opinion's dumb, or whatever. And I was like, thanks, Grandma. But I was listening the other day, I came across the song Zombie by the Cranberries, and it is my firm belief that the worst vocals I have ever heard in any song ever are the vocals of the lady sings in Zombie by the Cranberries. I think it is unlistenably bad.
I think that there are millions and millions of people who would vehemently.
You know which song is worse? Pump Up the Jam.
Pump up the jam, up the jam.
Pump it up. Yeah, that's barely singing. It's awful.
Those aren't even lyrics. Those are just like sampled. That's like 90s electronic music that used like samples of stuff because no one knew anybody that could sing. So they just found samples of things from stuff. But like
of other people who can't
Zombie
sing.
by the Cranberries is unlistenable garbage, in my opinion.
I actually know a band that has a quite good singer that covers that because of the vocal performance on it.
Do they do a good job?
I think it's supposedly a legendary performance too. Like
I think it's a good song.
I know that like people really like that song, and a couple of years ago there was a band that did a cover of it that was got like a huge. It was like a huge song, and I can think of the picture of the music video. It's like they're all covered in gold and stuff, and it was like white. It was like a white. Everything was white, and then the lady who was singing it was covered in gold, like paint and stuff or something. But
was it In This Moment?
No. This is like a rap song. They did it as like a electronic rap song or something. In This Moment, they do their fair share of covers though that are all terrible as well. But
they really aren't those covers. They don't do good covers in this moment.
No. We'll see what their new album is too, because they have a big cover on this next one coming out too. Their version of In the Air Tonight.
It is a stinker. It's not good.
There's some stuff. I mean, like
one of the great songs of all time. Maybe you just shouldn't cover one of the greatest songs.
The Proto-Man cover of In the Air Tonight is better than the original.
And there's
what? Oh no, it sounds too similar. It sounds too similar.
But the Proto-Man.
The live version of Phil Collins performing that live off of his like big 50th anniversary DVD or whatever is the definitive version of that song.
I'm whatever. I'm not gonna. I don't know.
I'm not gonna fight about that.
But like there are songs like that.
Yeah.
That just right, like the production of that song makes that so much, and it was the same thing with that Weezer cover that got so popular of that of Africa. Right, because that one was too similar. I'm like, oh, when I heard that Weezer had done that and it was becoming popular before I heard the song, I'm like, oh, they found some way to do eighth note down picked Weezer guitars, dun, 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 dun,
Which is not what Weezer is normally like, right? That was just all their big hits were like that, hash pipe and stuff.
No. I think every Weezer song is like that.
Yeah,
That's what
like
they do.
Maybe I would like Weezer then.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, Weezer.
I've never heard any of their albums at all. I just know Beverly Hills, Hash Pipe, and like a couple of their other ones.
Make Believe is their best album, and I'll fight anybody who.
I have 2 copies of Pinkerton, and I've heard that album's so messed up that it's like
Pinkerton's a turd.
The
Don't listen
blue
to them.
one in the pink. Pinkerton. Yeah. Wait. What? Which one's?
Pinkerton's the one that has the weird Japanese cover, but there's also an alternative cover as well.
No, the old one. Here we go. But the old ones are the good ones.
I'm sure most people would say that about Weezer.
After the Blue album is good one.
That's Make Believe, I think, right?
No,
Make Believe is Make Believe. Blue album is Blue album.
Blue album is just Blue album. It's just called Weezer. It's the blue one.
Oh, yeah.
They have a green album and a blue album.
If you want us to listen to Weezer on the channel, let me know though. That'll probably be blocked immediately. That will be blocked immediately.
The green one, I mean, I bought that when I was in high school. It's fine, but give me
the thing though is like
stupid wiki.
Blue album, green album, Pinkerton, all of the albums that people say are the best Weezer albums. I do not like Weezer, but
that's fine.
That's what I love about Make Believe is that it doesn't sound like Weezer. It sounds like
What's their big song off of Make Believe?
No, Pinkerton is the one I was thinking about. Pinkerton's fine.
I thought that was the one where they like went crazy sonically and tried to make like a garage sounding album or something weird.
Yeah,
it does sound.
I saw a documentary about it or something once. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We're not here to talk about it. We're here to talk about Rob Zombie. So whatever. Speaking of Zombie, Zombie by the Cranberries. That's what the name of the song is, right?
Yeah.
Sucks. It sucks.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're on
that
to
song sucks. On to the next.
now we're on to Lucifer Rising. You ready, Chris?
Yep.
In 3, 2, 1. Now this is coming from what we just heard.
Yeah.
I wonder if it'll maintain any live aesthetic to it, or if they just carry the crowd over. Oh no, it's there. It's live. Beefy. I love how there's just so much beef in that.
Yeah, I love it. Yes. This is more like some of his older stuff.
Yeah.
I love you. Yeah, baby, I love you. See, one of the things I've been waiting to point out since the album was kind of over, Chris, is Rob Zombie has other albums where there are guitar solos in every song. This album, they were just like, for the most part, that's not what we're about here. So that was one of the reasons I was like, we got to listen to the other album because Chris is going to like all the lead guitar stuff. But
I like it.
yeah, for sure. And I think maybe listening to this first will make you appreciate some of the other stuff.
I'm trying to decide why I think that this sounds live, and it's just because it's all reverby and far away, like the crowd noise. I mean, whatever. That's
and there's that, the crowd noise. It's like, why? I don't understand why
there's no production
sound live.
There's no production tricks with the vocals, right? Like for the first half of the record, there was all this stuff where the verses were dead the middle, and then the chorus came in, and it was like unbelievably super wide stereo. And the guitars, they're just not very present. And the same kind of thing with the drums is they have some sort of time-based processing on them to make them sound farther away, or it might just be a delay thing to like kind of act like the PA or the monitors or whatever that's making it sound like that. But that's why I was making that face all the time. I'm like, what exactly is that?
What is going on?
Because why would you ever want to do that?
Yeah. Did you mind it, the fact that that stuff was there?
No, I mean, I think it still sounds okay. I do prefer it to a degree when they do, and I was about to say this, I really like the even somewhat campy vocal production that's on this stuff, that like, right, it's just obvious, like it just, there's no subtlety to it, right? It's a whole bunch of distortion and it's right down the middle, and then the chorus starts, and then there's obviously two wildly different vocal takes going on, and they're spread wide.
Yep, the pre-chorus is a lot of that has the, like, in the earlier songs he was doing that, like mama, 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 shut your mouth, like that stuff is just two vocal takes spread wide, right? And then when the guitars and everything come in, his main vocal is back in the middle, and there's more layering to it and stuff. But like, yes, they
turn off the vocal, they turn off the reverb and delay on the like line that's the title of the song or whatever, and it's like hits you in the face, and like, I like that better because this does sound live, and I guess that's part of it is because the production's sort of flat. Like there's not,
they don't change it as much. There's not as much automation.
I don't think there's
as we were pointing out with what the thing.
That's an interesting experiment though that you don't get to hear very much, because a lot of times when you listen to records, the automation stuff, you're like, yeah, whatever, it changes, like, you know, it changes every 4 bars, but then you hear a song that doesn't have that, and you're like, oh, I kind of miss it.
Yeah.
I do like it when stuff changes.
I salute them for having 2 songs on the album that are like that, right?
Fake life.
See, this is all stuff I never thought that you would say.
Well, I'm just saying I salute them for trying it. I'm not necessarily saying I like that. However, I personally don't know if I would like that song as much if it was just a straightforward song like the rest of them. Like, it does stick out a little bit from the earlier songs. Like, I wasn't going to say this till the end of the album, but in my opinion, there is one bad song on this album, and then there's one other song that's kind of like, I could take it or leave it. The rest of them I actually really enjoy, and I think they fit in his catalog really well. This song we just listened to is the one that I'm about. Like, I do not personally care for that song very much at all, but it's not, in my opinion, the worst song on the album. But I'll wait and tell you what I think the worst song is afterwards, and I want to get your guys' opinion on what you think the worst song is as well. Probably a little tough to do that when we spend a half hour between each song talking.
It is tough.
So let's just go ahead and listen to the penultimate track here, The Girl Who Loved the Monsters. Ready, Chris?
Yeah.
In 3, 2, 1. Whoops, wrong one. Okay, so the crowd is gone now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, there weren't any samples in the other songs?
Correct, yeah.
That's another thing too, yeah.
Right, that reverb sound is just completely different than what we've heard before. Like, that's supposed to be a reverb sound, and that other thing was trying to make up a space to make it sound like
that
it's
everything
outside
lived in.
of the huge
Right.
show.
Yeah.
Because there's no place that sounds like that reverb sound, right? That super bright thing.
I like the way they came into that.
Yeah.
Instead of just hitting it, they slid into it. This almost sounds like it could be mono.
It could be what?
Mono.
Oh.
That's not saying that it is.
I don't
but
think
it's
it wouldn't
so
lose
narrow.
much if it was, right?
Yeah.
That synth thing is on the outside.
Oh, the
Yeah,
synth
true.
pad.
Yeah.
Real light.
Toms are wide, but I get what you mean. Like, it could just be straight down the middle and you wouldn't lose much.
And the drums sound like they're here. Like, how can something be above me? It's really wild.
I like the piano part here.
Bink. Bunk.
Boo, ba, ba, boo.
It does. It's a nice touch.
We don't get a lot of that on this album, really.
And the organ.
Yeah, but the organ's usually doing like consistent stuff. There's not
Yeah.
very much like melody in the instrumentation. Dun, 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 dun.
These drums are the ones you're talking about, or straight down the middle, right?
Yeah.
Oh, the crashes are
This whole
off to the
chorus,
side a little.
They
This
are,
is
but
a-
the kick and snare and the
It's
hi-hat are
such a
like...
bleed, though. Like, this is a tube of sound that I'm looking down with my
But it
face like
changes... The drum sound kind of changes. Oh, it gets
this.
slower.
Yeah, this is wider.
Always love
is
it
cool,
when the
too.
song gets slower.
Sludgy.
Oh my god. It's so late.
I know. That's why I'm trying to rush us. Your brother's a trooper.
He really is.
Everybody who's watching in the premiere, shout out to Brother Dan right now. Because Chris has COVID at his house, not given to him by me. We don't, pretty sure. And his brother Dan stepped up and is helping his wife watch the baby. So everybody shout out to Brother Dan in the comments. Okay, so for the sake of time, that, in my opinion, is the most phoned-in Rob Zombie song I have ever heard. That is one of my
Interesting.
least favorite Rob Zombie songs in his entire catalog.
Wow.
I think that sounds like if somebody else was like, let's try to write a song like Rob Zombie, that's what it would sound like. I think it's lazy. I think that he repeated so many vocal parts. I think his vocal performance in the chorus is actually bad. I do not like that song at all. There are elements to it that I appreciate, like the piano and any moment where the guitars aren't playing and it's not crunchy. Like there's things there that I like, but all those elements would be what a person trying to imitate Rob Zombie would put in there. To me, there's nothing special about that song, and I think that is one of his absolute weakest songs.
I could definitely see that. I could agree there's nothing special about that song. I have no problem with
I'm
that
sure you
statement.
guys don't feel that way, but again, like I've already said, my Rob Zombie meter is running on full right now, you know? So I'm thinking about like all the other amazing stuff he's done and even some of the other amazing songs on this album that I do also feel are maybe a little bit phoned in from certain things, but that song to me is just egregious.
I don't know. I don't know that I would feel that way about this kind of music because like I don't really, to me, like this stuff isn't really about the songs.
It's not hitting high enough highs for you to be that upset.
No, it's just a vibe thing, and like
That's super true.
I mean, I'm not listening.
I wonder if you would think that if you were listening to the album all the way in a row, because you were getting to we're almost done, and to have that song right here is almost like it's like tedious to get through.
No,
I feel
really,
yeah,
okay.
in my opinion. And then that slow part starts, and you're like, oh, this is something a little bit different, and then it doesn't do anything special at all. And then it's done, and there's a cool sample, That's neat. But yeah. How did you feel about that song, Chris? Was it just another one, or?
I mean, yeah, it was. They're all doing about the same thing, but I would say from just like a mixed perspective, it is odd how centered that song was.
Do you think one of the reasons
it did bleed out different, sides on different sections, but for like that was really just such a tube.
Do you think one of the reasons you think that is because of the two previous songs where they had all that crazy like place reverb on it?
No, I've been paying attention to the stereo width on this whole album because it seems oddly restricted.
Okay.
Like the stuff that's happening, that makes its way out to the sides. Like there's some stuff like in that one song with the that one bass thing that was always just over there. And so it's not like super consistently like really tight, but it just doesn't. I've heard a lot of stuff lately that is just like pinned to the back of your ears, hard 90 degrees, so much lately, and it's just like this is just like.
One thing I do want to point out to that is that we have to remember this band only has one guitar player. So like a lot of metal that we listen to, there's a guitar player on the left, guitar player on the right, and the differences between those two guitar players really help the wideness of the whole image of the song.
But the sound is so big.
Yeah.
Even though they have just the one guitar player, the sound that they have
he's
is
playing
so
multiple
large.
parts, and it's definitely
right.
Panned and stuff. But like,
I think I would. I bet Dragula's got way more stereo space than this.
What does?
Dragula.
I think don't listen to Rob Zombie. I told you earlier this year, Chris, don't listen to Rob Zombie, because even if Chris doesn't want to do it and you and I just go back and listen to some of his first album does not sound very good. You want to talk about contained? That album is like, it is
25 years old.
It is. And I think it's in the smallest box that's ever existed.
We'll see.
It is. I think the second album's miles huge.
Well, that could be. That's
in
fine.
Quality.
I'll allow that.
But anyway, so okay. Do we just want to finish off the album?
Let's do it.
Let's finish off the album. We can talk a little bit about overall thoughts, and then we'll end the Halloween party. So this is only 2 minutes and 10 seconds long. This is a full song, and I'm just going to spoil it right now for you. There's nothing at the end. This song ends. Boom, album done. There's no atmosphere. There's no secret song. Rob Zombie on almost all of his albums, pretty much up to this point, because CD was like the medium that he was making his music for, there would be like 5 minutes of silence and then a secret track at the end. And usually it was like a cool punky type of thing or some crazy thing that was so different from the rest of the album. Power Man 5000 did the exact same thing on all their albums up to a certain point as well. Nothing on this. This just bang done. So let's listen to the bang.
All right.
This is Trade in Your Guns for a Coffin in 3, 2, 1.
I've heard this intro like 4 times now.
Why?
That's wide, Chris.
Yeah, that's way out. For sure.
This is a huge step up mix quality wise compared to the last
from the previous
3
song?
or 4. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this sounds great. Space. This is very Firewater. end.
There you have it.
Huh. See, that's like a bunch of songs in the first half of the record. Like, that's one of the things that surprised me about this. Like, all of those ones, and this one included, like, they could have done some little, like, instrumental thing for 8 bars and then did the chorus again. And I think that would, like... But I like that feeling that, like, that's it.
Yeah.
And, like, I know that you don't, Patrick.
That's definitely what they were going for with this. That's not my favorite song on the album at all. So, like, I'm kind of okay with it, and I actually like it
there's
more.
Like 4 more. There's like at least 4 more songs that do that same thing. Like when they were over, they didn't like end so abruptly, as far as I remember. But like, it was like, oh, that really could have had another. That really could have had another chorus. There was
this time they only did the chorus twice, but I think all the other instances you were mentioning it, like they had done the chorus a third time already.
It's not about the number; it's about the way it feels. I think that they like
I say that all the time, but to me, the songs, even this song, to me, because it's kind of just what it is, it's consistent the entire time, kind of just like attacking you. I feel like I had enough of it when it was done, and I talk about that all the time on my channel here too. Like, does this song leave you wanting more, or do you feel completed listening to it? And I feel like every song on this album, I don't necessarily feel like it needs to be longer. And that's one of the kind of cool things about Rob Zombie's music. Like, sometimes I'll look at a band and I'll look at the times of their songs and I'll totally dismiss the album before I even listen to it because, like, no song is over 3 minutes long. But that is what Rob Zombie's songs are a lot of the time. They don't necessarily need to be too long. And, you know, like I said, in this album, like, that song would have been perfect for a guitar solo. You know, I don't even care if it's like a crazy ripping thing, but just like some sort of like a bend the notes a lot like Rob Zombie songs should do. And it just didn't do that, really. It didn't, you know, a lot of the songs didn't do that. So I think that they were making like a conscious effort. And I will say, I think after this album is when they recorded their big live album. And it was like I remember at the time it was a big deal that it was like Rob Zombie's first live album. And I think the show was called Spook Show International. And it was like the first time they'd performed any of their songs live to be like professionally recorded. And I don't think they ever released it as a DVD or any video at all. It's literally just a live album. So the album as a whole, Chris, what are your thoughts, this being your first time really paying attention to Rob Zombie? Now that we're done, I just have to say real quick, I feel like I picked the wrong album for us to listen to. And I was so scared of that the whole time. I think...
So you were going to feel like that no matter what we listen to.
You're absolutely right. So at least, yeah. So you tell me what you thought.
It's good. What's that word did I say there? It was good. I liked it. Mm-hmm. I mean... Again, like there's not like enough there, you know, whatever musically, lyrically, or whatever for it to be like my favorite thing,
right? Which I would never think that it would be, but
right. And there's stuff like this and
I think just real quick, people who might not know, like I have shown Chris so many things in the past, and he will tell me like, no, this is not for me. Like I don't like this.
I wish I was better at that.
In a way that, like,
in general.
I mean, you're never, like, dismissive of me or anything, but, like, there's a lot of things I've shown you where you're just like, wow, this is not for me. You have reacted completely differently to this. And maybe you're just a better actor now and we're doing it on a channel.
I know, because
But, like,
that seems unnecessary.
I get the feeling from you that you're being genuine. Like, there's, like, something to this that makes it fun in a way that you're enjoying.
I know. That's like one of my life goals now is to pinpoint like the thing that, because there's so many things that are so close. Like, for example, I was listening to that Allegiant song on the way here, and like right away, like it's fine. Like I don't hate it. I'm not gonna go beat up Allegiant fans or anything like that. But like right, like pretty much within 5 seconds, I'm like, this is not something that I'm going to like. This was not made for me. Someday I will figure out.
Which is so crazy because their last album is so good. And like of all the metal that I do listen to, they're one of the bands that I've showed you. However, their first few albums, there's no clean vocals on it at all. So,
that was one of the, no, this isn't about Allegiant, but now it is.
Was there clean vocals in this song?
I didn't maybe make it through the whole thing.
Okay, that's fine.
But they went to the chorus, and it was a chorus that was ripe for clean vocals, and they didn't do it. There was like really singy, dirty vocals, but I'm like, oh, thank God. At least we didn't do that.
They do that a lot. Like their clean vocals are only in the like progressive metal parts of their songs.
Okay.
It's pretty rare that they actually like sing over the distorted guitars and stuff.
I don't know. I like the Rob Zombie thing, but to me it's just like it's a vibe thing. Like, and I like the vibe, but the songs, I don't know that I don't really know that I wasn't listening for differences, because for whatever reason today I was super listening to sounds. But like the songs don't really matter, but like the whole thing I like, and there's little moments in all of them that I thought were enjoyable and fun. And
See, something to me that is missing from this album is like, to me, Rob Zombie is like every year when Halloween comes around, I throw on some like Rob Zombie albums. This album is not like a Rob Zombie Halloween album. Like, it doesn't feel like that. This is much more of a like rock and roll Rob Zombie album. Like, you know, more, and I do feel like he kind of got away from that a little bit, but I feel like his first three solo albums are like, throw them on Halloween and like celebrate Halloween with them.
There's very little horror elements to this
for sure,
compared to him, because it's like there's so much more of that sleazy like white trash trailer park rock kind of vibe going on here.
Yep.
Compared to the more the sinister vibe that he had in early works, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that you can see, if you heard the album that came before this, which is the one that I said was like it sounds like a live album the whole time. Totally different than the way they make this sound live. I just mean the song arrangements are very, like, I do think that album might have real drums on it, and they sound identical in every song. Like, and the guitars change up a little bit, but like for the most part, that whole album is like, that is very consistent, because it just feels like they're performing the songs one after the other and they just sound really good from the studio recording. But like, I don't know. I do think the fact that the horror stuff is missing from this I don't know. Were you expecting there to be more electronic stuff in this? Because that was one question I was curious about.
no,
I don't think so.
No?
no, I guess I don't really. I mean, I know that that's a part of the Rob Zombie stuff, but like, there was enough of it in here. I mean, it was not devoid of synthesizers or like a lot of the drums. And I think that you might be right that the vast majority, if not all of them, are samples. But then there are still parts where they are electronic music drums. Like, they're not supposed to sound like real drums.
Right, for sure. I think another thing too is like his first two albums are most people, when you say Rob Zombie, they're thinking of his first two albums. Most people did not stick around after his second album. And the thing that people like about those albums, there's so much more things layered in all of those songs. Like, so much more. Even on his first album, where there's not a ton, but there are so many more synths and dancey parts on like Super Beast and Dragula than you think that there are. Like, there's so many things layered in those songs. This is where we're getting to the point of Rob Zombie's career where I feel like when there's heavy guitars and stuff, other than that organ, there's not too much else happening. Maybe there's guitar doing some like shrill notes and things every now and then to add that sort of Rob Zombie feel.
Sounds, right? Like squeaks and high notes.
Yes,
and
for
stuff
sure.
Like that,
and like in his older stuff, there would be layers of lots of things. And specifically for me, The Sinister Urge, one of the reasons that album is so great is they got a string quartet to play on like 4 or 5 of the songs, and it's recorded really well. And it doesn't sound like strings. It's so boxed in like the rest of the album. It sounds like you could have just played them on a keyboard, but they're real strings. And some of the songs like heavily feature that, but they're doing like old, like throwback, like horror movies from like the 30s and the 40s. Like, they're doing stuff like that would be in a soundtrack to those movies. And so that's kind of one of the things that gives it the sort of more horror vibes to me, along with all the samples that they're using. But there's just such a wider breadth of sounds being used on those albums. And then that completely changed on the Black Sabbath-y one, that Educated Horses, that I keep mentioning, because they went from having so many things to being like, no, we're going to let the production of this like rock, doomy sort of more sound, stoner rock vibe type thing. That's where we're going to let the production dictate how the songs sound. And we're going to write songs that fit that style of production. And it is so much more minimalistic compared to anything that came before it. Way more even than this. Yeah. Like, those songs are really just guitar, bass, drums, vocals with the occasional thing thrown in, which is kind of how these songs are. But, and then they did another album just like that. And so this, to me, is the album where they kind of came back to what they were doing a little bit. More sounds, more layering, more obviously fake sounding drums, like dancey sounding electronic drums. And then his next album I never heard, and then the most recent album is much more like the vocals are really low in the mix, and the guitars are like super hot. The drums sound a lot more realistic, and there are lead guitars all over that album. And the songs are, sometimes it's even hard to hear like what he's saying. The vocals are so low. I don't know if he has any perfect sounding albums. I think Sinister Urge sounds like the best album he's ever done. But that's why I said at the beginning, like, I think the production on this album is really good, but I don't think I ever said that like all of Rob Zombie's music is produced super well and sounds fantastic, because that is not the case. Mm-hmm. But I think that his albums that don't necessarily sound perfect to me have things that are unique about them and characteristics that the other albums don't have that keep me just as interested as their albums that I like and enjoy for the production. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, sorry, that was a long thing. But Chris Parker, how do you feel about all this?
I think that I would say that this album is relatively forgettable.
Okay.
I don't really listen to Rob Zombie ever, honestly, ever. He's not part of my rotation.
Yeah.
There's there's a bunch of stuff from that first album that I consider to be like, this song is just white hot fire every time. But I never like think to myself, I'm going to go listen to Rob Zombie. And I'm not quite sure why that is. It doesn't really have anything to do with him.
Do you do that with Power Man 5000?
With the one album.
With
Other Side.
Tonight the Stars. Other Side?
Somewhere on the Other Side of Nowhere is an album that actually is in my rotation.
Okay.
And
Just curious.
It comes up a lot because that album
So good.
is
Fantastic.
so good. And I think maybe the part of this that I didn't realize was missing until we talked about it a little bit ago was just the horror elements of it are just not as present. And that's such an important part of what makes his music so cool in my world. But I mean, it's fine. Like this is not Rob Zombie. It's got at one point during this, I was thinking like, who is this album for? What is Rob Zombie's demographic? Like, what is the scenario? Where do you put on a Rob Zombie album? When do you listen to it? Because when I was a kid, my parents partied a lot, and Rob Zombie usually made its way on, when this whole party is going on, everybody's smoking and drinking and doing whatever, they're, playing darts and stuff. And it just, Rob Zombie as party music makes all the sense in the world. And this just fits that really well, where it's like, here's music for the sake of music that has a very specific vibe, where you're like, I want to create this vibe, and I'm going to use Rob Zombie to help me do it. And otherwise, actually sitting down and listening analytically to a Rob Zombie album, specifically this one, because this is the only one I've done it with, but it's like, it almost is a mistake.
I see.
And that's kind of what I was saying before, that there's just like,
that's what you were saying led me to that thought.
Yeah.
Like, maybe it's not, this isn't how you're supposed to listen to Rob Zombie.
And like listening and driving would be another great time to listen to this, because like, I mean, forgettable sounds so brutal, but like,
it does. And I don't mean it to be as harsh
I know,
as it
but
sounds.
like, I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. There's like, right. Cause there's like no, other than that one 80s guitar riff that was on the first third of the record.
That was in Dead City Radio.
And I can't even remember what the riff was, except for that I liked it and it stood out to me. But like, it was some chord thing. It was
ba da 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 da. Because that was, we listen to the radio.
Okay, yeah.
I think Ging Gang Gong might be my favorite song on the album.
Ging Gang Gong. You mean Ging Gang Gong De Du Gong De Laga Raga?
I do, in fact, not mean
that
song.
one should have had another
chorus. They should have done the Ging Gang Gong.
Both parts. The skull on the ass and the scat part. That should have happened again. There should have been some little thing in there, whatever, a few bars to break up, and then a chorus to end it, and then boo, and then another chorus.
Earlier in his career, that is what he would have done. And I can appreciate the fact that he didn't. And one of the other things I was thinking, Chris, was maybe to me, this album is a little bit like Metal Gear Solid 4, right?
All right.
To me, Metal Gear Solid 4 is the best Metal Gear game. However, you could never think that unless you played 1 through 3 first. Because 4 is so integral to enjoying the game and everything that's its positives and its negatives, it means so much more when you've experienced Snake's story up to that point, and even Big Boss's story up to that point.
I will never forget the final ending fight in that game, where you know your PS1 Snake, and then you it changes the fighting mechanics of how he does things as he goes.
When you're
through
fighting
the layers
Ocelot on top of the,
which was so cool. And I have only ever played Metal Gear Solid 2 and 4, and it was still the coolest.
Sure, for sure. But again, you'd like it more if you played specifically 3.
Right, for sure.
But anyway, that's I think that's maybe, I've said it now multiple times. Like, to me, there are throwback moments on this album, which obviously would mean nothing to you. But honestly, I'm kind of surprised that Chris Parker wasn't in a few of the songs like, this sounds a little familiar to me. You know, like, this sounds like
that Meet the Creeper segment big time, but otherwise.
You see, to me, there's a lot more on this album that's like that, and I wonder if the reason for that is you are way less familiar with his second album than I thought you were.
I don't know his second album. I know the hits. He's got 2 or 3 maybe radio songs off that album, but I've never listened to the whole thing.
You guys saying that it's a little bit forgettable and stuff, that I understand what you mean now that we're listening to this, especially talking to and hearing you guys, but to me, his music is not forgettable. But again, I think I appreciate this because of what it is. But when I think of his other albums and stuff, they are just seminal albums. And I listened to a lot of these albums. Well, not this one, but I listened to his first 2 albums when I was in high school, which is the time everyone always talks about as being your most impressionable time. Most people listen to the music that they listen to in high school for the rest of their life, and that's all the music they ever listen to for the rest of their life. And which is right, which we don't do here and do not endorse. Right. But so for me, that was Rob Zombie is one of the things that got me into heavier music, and Rob Zombie was used in WWE and most specifically video game soundtracks. The
fact that he was the
Twisted Metal
focal point of Twisted Metal 3 and 4 was so huge for me.
Yes, and Rob Zombie is a playable character in Twisted Metal 4. And he drives the Dragula vehicle, which the song Dragula.
It really is just the Rob Zombie game featuring the Twisted Metal cast.
Well, it's the Sweet Tooth game, but yeah. They live, the whole game is literally based around, well, it's circusy because of Sweet Tooth, but this, and the song that's in that game, that Grease Paint and Monkey Brains, I think it's called. That song is the theme of that game. That song is a White Zombie song from their Astro Creep 2000 song.
Hell yeah.
Album, and it sounds phenomenal. There's a few White Zombie songs that just sound better than anything Rob Zombie's ever done, sonically wise, and it's just
just wild.
Yeah, Grease Paint and Monkey Brains is one of those. But anyway, I know you got to get going, so we'll end the video here. Thank you so much for watching us talk this in depth about something that's not Metallica. Thank you to everyone who's been here. In the premiere, we super appreciate it. I love having these. I was surprised at the amount of people who thought the video was live. You know what I mean?
I did.
You mentioned it too, but I was to me, premiering a video is that's pretty obvious that it's not live. And when I watch other channels premiere videos, I don't think that.
But if you watch Twitch or whatever all the time and you're used to,
I don't. Yeah, that's the thing is premieres. I rarely watch premieres, and anytime that there's YouTube. I'm watching a YouTube video that has a scrolling chat, that's live. And so I got confused, even though I was in the video.
Yeah, which is funny. But there were a few people that mentioned oh, this is such a good idea for you guys to pre-record the video and then be chatting live as it's premiering.
I think it's superior to doing it live.
Oh, 100%, absolutely.
Because and when we do this, and if you.
Because then we don't have to focus on the chat.
Premiere next. Well, yeah, because you can. And it's not just hey, thanks for the super chat or whatever. We're actually talking to you. So if you're not watching this as the premiere, watch our next premiere. And if you have stuff that you want to tell us.
Which it will be hardwired to self-destruct.
Oh, yeah. Or whatever one. If
unless
you're watching
I do
it next year.
Dark Side of the Moon.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I hear that stupid reverb sound. With the gospel voice at the beginning of Time, right? Is that Time?
No.
Are you thinking Great Gig in the Sky?
Whatever
Great Gig in the Sky, yeah.
If I listened to it, I'd probably say that I liked it.
You
But anyway,
might
if
not
you
like
do
my
it,
opinion of that.
whatever our next premiere is, if you want to talk to us, we will accept you. You can actually tell us instead of just leaving a comment on the video telling us that we're losers. You can tell us and we can
100%.
come up with a terrible response.
I love doing the premieres. I think it is
super fun.
But it's also like we are seeing the reaction of the people watching us react. Like especially for
all
Lulu,
reactions all the
there
time.
were so many people listening to that who I was watching in the comments the whole time. There were so many people who just commented like once or twice, and their comments were just like, "What am I listening to?" You're like, "What the hell?" Because it was,
was so
people
much fun.
people who'd never heard Lulu before.
That's still mind blowing to me.
And they stayed through the whole video.
This morning. The people that are Metallica fans too, like that album has been out. When did it come out?
2011.
2011.
That album's been out for 12 years. And there's so many people who are like, I'm a real Metallica fan or whatever. And
I'd never heard that.
And they've listened to the demos and they listen to the crap. And you haven't found 70 minutes in the last 12 years to go listen to that thing.
I heard enough of it to know that I had no interest in resting.
And like,
See, but some people do that. Chris does that. Like he loves so many Rob Zombie songs, but like never bothered to listen to any of the other albums in his career. You know
It's a weird thing that happens sometimes. Like I will definitely,
sure.
and there'll be a lot of times too where I'll have like a favorite, and then I'll love the shit out of them, and then they'll whatever go away, and then something will spark it back up, and I'll listen to it again, and it's like, oh, I really love this, and that's when I dive in hard and I let it go.
Oh,
Right.
I was
That
going to
happens a lot
say,
with-
because there's totally bands where there's like 3 or 4 albums that I just completely missed and I never took the time to go back.
Right.
But
See, I would never do that. To me, it is consume everything.
I think you're
I try
maybe
to
the
do that,
most
at least.
fan person that I know.
Yeah,
You're,
you love
you're
to
like
consume.
the biggest fan.
But I'm not like a specific fan of anything enough to like be like a super
that's
fan
why
or anything.
that's why you're like the biggest fan. You've just enjoyed.
That's why you're the
I
best.
just, like, get into
because
it.
it just
of things.
feeds
Yeah.
you the thing.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. Okay, so anyway, thank you everyone for watching. Like we said now twice through the video. If you want us to do more Rob Zombie stuff, which please I hope you do, like the video and comment on this video so that I know that you want to see more of it and we will do more of it.
Or
I would
anything
love
other than Metallica.
Yeah, people really want Chris to listen to the first 2 Linkin Park albums.
I'll do it. If enough people watch this other stuff,
I'd love to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, I won't. I don't even know if I'll be able to keep doing the thing where I
Pretend to like it.
pretend to like stuff. Like I don't know if I'll be able to do that with Linkin Park.
It's good
I'll
stuff.
find something about it. I'm sure all the records sound really good. Anyway, I'm going home. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. We are recording. Holy sh! Well,
I didn't put this one
we'll
on.
see what happens.
Darkness imprisoning me. All that I see, absolute horror. I cannot live, I cannot die. Trapped in myself, my body, my holding cell. Landmine is taking my sight, taking my speech, taking my hearing, taking my arms, taking my legs, taking my soul. Let me in this hell.
Okay, Mom, we are recording. We can use this for. I can add this to the blooper.
Now the world is dark. I just me. Hold my breath as I wish for death. Oh, please, God, save me.
In my day, we didn't trick or treat. We had to duck.
Now it's time to play everyone's favorite game, Is It Metal? To play Is It Metal, I'm going to hold up a card with a number on it that has names and infrastructures and donkey passes. Woohoo!
No names. Just words.
To play Is It Metal, I'm going to hold up a piece of paper with a word or phrase on it and then ask a specific player the question, is it metal? And then they will have to give me the right answer. It's so fun and easy. Let's go.
I'm just laughing because you're falling apart. Your toe is cramping. My nose is thing. I'm coughing. I'm sweating my ass
Shut up.
off.
We still got half to go. We're only on 4 of 6. Okay, I still got to beat up an old microphone here. Let's go.
You gotta hang this thing.
Now it's time to play everybody's favorite game, Is It Metal? To play Is It Metal, I'm going to hold up a piece of paper that has a word or...
Oh, you need to do that.
Yeah, I did. I'm going to have to blow my nose now. Hold on, we can get it then. I got it. Dear God, it's getting dark outside. No, it's not.